the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you. I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a thing. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
I do this for the kids who sit a bit outside the mix, who maybe cope through humor just to fit in for a bit, who never let the world know when depression's setting in. To all of those who know you, that impression don't exist, and it ain't counterfeit, it's just a way to counter it. I'm living things I dreamed about, I still encounter it. It ain't something that a cigarette or alcohol can fix, but all because of it, I flipped it quick, went on to write some hits. This a success, off another breath. This the first step in searching to be nothing less than be the best in what you do to prove their strength in being you. Learn so much in chasing dreams that I never would in school. Depends on where your passion lie, just no passion never lie. Life presents distractions, but your actions have to fortify. The things that you believe in have to scream it like a battle cry, and leave the ones who didn't looking stupid while they're asking why. Couldn't lie, I really do this for the ones I love. Those who treat the music as a vice and lyrics like a drug. Those who need advice on how to lift their spirit high enough to break out of the box they make of lives they know aren't good enough. Just because it's how it is don't mean it's how it has to be. This is what the uninspired testifiers fail to see. Jealousy results from being that which others fail to be, and if it means you're not with me, that honestly sounds fair to me.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a thing. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
Do this for my mother, she'll be working for the summer. Do this for my father, cause these days I often wonder what my life would have been like if I was not adopted. To grow up in a home where I was treated like a problem. I don't know, it's just a guess. Your guess probably good as mine. Lucky that I grew up in a home that wanted me to shine. Lucky that I grew up around some mountains we were taught to climb. Without that inspiration, I don't think that this would be my life. Do this for my friends who've scattered all across the country now. I'm out in Sweden walking back through life so I can write it down. Make a living off the sound, so crazy to say out loud. I'm the biggest thing since Travis Rice to come up out the town. Sorry, gotta stunt a little. Used to have my dreams belittled, but it's all a part of it. I know people's minds are fickle, lines between reality and dreams I blur like faded nights. Come up been so good for me, I wish that I could make it twice.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a thing. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
Good evening. Thank you guys for being here. Let's get it. Hey, we're going to get the show started tonight. Happy Father's Day. That is not how we want to start the show. I apologize. I always have mic issues, y'all. But nonetheless, hey, I just wanted to say happy belated Father's Day to those of you who are fathers. I'm a father, and I got my phone calls from the kids. All my kids live in Florida and Maryland. But those of you out there who are fathers, hey, shout out to you. The single moms in the chat, you ain't a father. Just because you don't have a baby daddy in their life, you're not doing both duties. You don't get to celebrate Mother's Day and Father's Day. No. You got kids who grew up without a dad. That's what it is. You're not wearing both hats. You're not doing the job. You raised a bunch of kids who didn't have a dad. You're not dad. So don't be just celebrating that shit. Single dads, don't be celebrating Mother's Day. I'm just putting this out there right now. Obviously, today's a holiday. Shout out to those of you who celebrate this Juneteenth day. Shout out to everybody. Hey, thank you guys for being here. We're going to get the show started. I saw I have a VIP in the chat, y'all. You know I don't jump to the chat right away. But I saw a VIP in the chat. I want to say shout out to Caleb Mathis. Caleb Mathis, Colorado walk-on, preferred walk-on, son of Kevin Mathis, Dallas Cowboy great. But we got Caleb Mathis in the chat tonight. If y'all want to say what's up to him, he plays for Colorado. You've seen him in all the videos. He's here. He's a friend of the channel. And, just want to give him a shout-out before we even get started, okay? So do what you do. Hey, don't bombard him with questions. Leave the man alone. He's just in here trying to enjoy the show. But shout out to Caleb. Thank you for being here. Okay, guys, so let's get after it. You guys know how the format works. We come in here. You guys ask me a bunch of questions because not everybody knows, but Rico knows, right? I'm going to answer your questions. We're going to do our thing. But more importantly, we're going to talk about what's trending first. Then I'm going to get to your questions. Your questions drive the show. It's 8 o'clock. We can be here till 11. We can be here till 10. We can be here till midnight. I don't care. We're going to get through it, okay? So let's rock. I'm going to minimize this, and we're going to get after some of these headlines. So let's go see what we got. In the world of the NBA, and you guys know I don't get too excited about it, Chris Paul got traded to the Wizards. Chris Paul is blaming Isaiah Thomas for the trade, or he's saying Isaiah Thomas had a hand in him being traded. I don't care. If you make yourself invaluable and you're worth every penny of who you are, you won't be traded. Now, Chris Paul's on the way out. I'm going to tell you guys right now, Chris Paul will not be playing for the Wizards. I know he got traded to the Wizards. Rico knows. He will not be playing for the Wizards, okay? And when it comes out and he doesn't play for the Wizards, they either buy out his contract or trade him to another team. I'm going to make the video where I say I am right, and everybody's going to go, we all knew that. We all knew that. Well, I'm letting you know. I'm saying it. I'm right. You're wrong. I'm used to it, y'all. I'm always right. Very rarely. I can't even think of the last time I was wrong. It had to be something not sports related. I know I was wrong about my ex-wife. I know that for a fact. I was wrong. I married that woman. I knew her for about 2 months, thicker than a Snicker. She was a yoga instructor, and everything about her was on point. She even made as much money as me. But I was wrong because she had a whole lot of other priorities that I didn't really care for. We do not say her name in this vicinity, just letting you know. So that's the last time I was wrong, my ex-wife. Nonetheless, back to the stories here. We're going to do about 5, and then we're going to get back to you guys. Hey, are you guys paying attention? The XFL has now had over 100 players invited to NFL camps. 100. Can we confirm that the XFL is a viable route to get back into the NFL yet? 108 players have been invited to camps. Now, there's varying levels to this thing. I want to try to explain it to those of you who don't know. You get invited for personal workouts. You can get invited for the mini camp, which is after the draft. They just had mini camp. And then you can sign an undrafted free agent contract and get into camp. It's important you understand the varying levels of that. If you get signed as an undrafted free agent right after the draft and you get a signing bonus, you're in pretty good shape. They're going to put you on the team, theoretically. Now, let me tell you guys this. They've expanded practice squad sizes this offseason. They're expanding every single year. Go read the collective bargaining agreement. Maybe you guys don't want to. You can go read the CBA from the NFL Players Association. They are increasing the number of practice squad slots. That is great news for XFL football players. That is great news for your favorite college team and the guy trying to make it in the league who didn't get drafted. This is great news. They're expanding the size of practice squads. And I think at one point they're going to get up to 15 players. All right? Practice squad minimums are around $250,000, $250,000. Now look, guys. That sounds like pretty good work, right? 18 paychecks, $250,000. It is. And if for any reason you get activated at any given time, your salary nearly doubles. It's like over $400,000, $500,000 for the league minimum. It gets prorated at 18 weeks. So it's like a paycheck around, I want to say I did the math one time, it's like $34,000. So if you're on the practice squad making your 12, 13, 14 grand, if they call you up, you go make 32 that next week. Hey, man, that sounds like a good week. Now, another thing I want to say. If you're a quarterback in the NFL, let's say you're a rookie quarterback. You're undrafted and you're trying to make it. Think of that guy Ahlers. Holton Ahlers, East Carolina quarterback. He was a freshman starting quarterback, and he was at East Carolina. He started 4 years in a row. He was a starter from freshman year, and he was a team captain from his freshman year. This is a North Carolina kid. He's a stud. I like everything about him. I was watching a lot of East Carolina football because of Keaton Mitchell, the running back. But if you watch Holton Ahlers, you're like, yo, this guy's great. Now, he ran a 4.940. It wasn't fast. And a lot of what he did in college was extending plays with his legs. You can't do that in the NFL at a 4.940. But What's really important is he's with the Seahawks right now. Okay? He's with the Seahawks. Seahawks have Geno, and their backup is Drew Lock. So he's going to be third string if he wins the third string job. Guess what? The NFL, when they do active rosters for the game, so there's 53 on the active roster, but for a game, only 45 are active. You have to declare your 45. Guess who's not a part of that 45 anymore? This is a new rule in the NFL. The quarterback. Your third quarterback doesn't count against your 45. Okay? The third quarterback doesn't count against your 45. You can now take 46 to a game. That's great news for Holton Ahlers. That means he'll be able to suit up if he makes third string. And that goes for every third string quarterback out there. I'm excited for these men. They're going to get generational wealth just sitting on the bench, just putting on the uniform, looking good. Hey, hold that clipboard, buddy. Throw out fake signs. You always see the backup quarterback doing fake signs. Do fake audibles, bro. Don't worry about it. Hope he makes his money. And that goes for every guy in camp right now. They're going to increase opportunities for third-string quarterbacks. What they don't want to happen, I don't know if you guys remember this, but what they really don't want to happen is what happened back in the 90s with Bill Parcells and the Jets. They had Vinny Testaverde go down, and they didn't want to play their second-string or third-string quarterback. So they had Tom Tupa, the punter, who played quarterback in college, played quarterback for the Cardinals. Tom Tupa was the punter, and he came in and threw 2 touchdowns in the game. He threw 2 touchdowns for the Jets in the season opener. I think it was the first game of the season. Tom Tupa, the punter, who used to play college quarterback, came in and started playing because they needed an emergency third-string quarterback, and it was Tom Tupa. And, at some point they brought in Rick Meyer too. I can't remember all the details right now, but they don't want stuff like that to happen. They need quarterbacks on the roster, and they need them available. So that's the plan, just so we're aware. All right? Hey, remember we were talking about this? I was talking to you guys about Jack here. So Jack Jones got arrested, took guns to the airport. Everybody flipped out on me. Rico, why are you talking about it? And they said, oh, you're so racist. No, bro, I'm not racist. Listen, Jack Jones, he had a problem, right? He's from Long Beach Poly. He's from the hood. Ever watched an interview? He's very limited in what he can say in interviews. Doesn't come across the sharpest tool in the shed, the whatever you want to say, the sharpest knife in the drawer. I don't know what you want to say. He's not the brightest bulb in the room for sure. Okay? Hell of a football player. This is what's got him in the NFL. He's an exceptionally gifted football player. Plays corner, one of the best corners out there. But when he went to USC, he couldn't get his grades, so they cut him. They released him. They said, hey, man, he was on academic probation for 1 semester, and then they just let him go. And once they let him go, he went in and broke into a Panda Express. Talked about this. Stealing less than $900. He and 2 buddies on his high school team, all 3 of them got arrested. They were breaking into a Panda Express at 2, 3 in the morning. Okay? Eventually he gets to go enroll at Arizona State because Herm Edwards is an NFL coach and doesn't care about character concerns. And Herm Edwards puts him in at Arizona State. He gets drafted in the 4th round because he's an exceptional football player. But those 2 loaded guns with the extended mag clips and all this other shit he took to the airport just the other day, guys, each one of those charges carries a 15-year sentence. Now, I'm not saying he's going to get 15 years, but this ridiculous statement here, Dov Kleiman says he could get 30 years in prison if they make them run in succession, one after the other. So you do your 15 years for one gun, 15 years for another. I want to tell everybody now, most judges aren't doing that. Judges are going to do concurrent, run them at the same time, and he's not going to get 15 years if he has an attorney worth a damn and he has no ill intent, all this other stuff. He's probably going to say he didn't know the clips were illegal. He doesn't know where he got the hollow point ammunition from, whatever he's going to do. But plausible deniability is going to help here because he is not a very intelligent human being. You can just play dumb. But this man is facing significant prison time. These are federal charges. You can't take a gun to the airport loaded, hidden in your bag, and think it's just, oh, my bad. Hey, just go throw it out. You'll be good. No, my bad. No, man, it don't work that way. This isn't shoplifting, and then you ask if you can pay for it instead of after you get caught. No, this is a loaded gun. We don't know what your intent is. But nonetheless, 30 years in prison, technically. But, I don't think that's going to happen. I just want to make you guys aware of how serious it is. All right? I'll get to the chat, and then we'll get to the rest of this. I'll update the transfer portal. So let's get to the chat and see how we're doing tonight. Hopefully the questions are there. I haven't looked at it yet. Let's go. Let's go. All right, at the top, Steve. Hey, Steve's letting you guys know the rules right now. And shout out to those of you who were asking me questions on TikTok. We don't talk on TikTok. You got to come to the YouTube live stream. Help support the live stream. Support the channel. Subscribe on YouTube. The link's in the bio. If you're on TikTok, just click on this link up here. Go to the link. Come over to YouTube. Jump in the live chat, and I'll answer your questions. Okay, here we go. So Steve says, welcome in. Make sure you like it. Sometimes you got to leave the live stream to like it and then come back in. Subscribe, and only one question. Now, you can ask more than one question. Just ask it once. I'm going to get to it, guys. I intentionally let the chat build up so I know I'm behind on chat. I know. It's just the way it works. So if you're using phrases like he, they, by the time I get to it, I'll have no idea what you're saying. So if you go, oh, yeah, he's tough, I don't know who the hell you're talking about by the time I read it. So write out the person's name. They suck. Let me know who they are. Always write it all the way out. You'll see there'll be questions in here, and I have no idea what you guys are saying because by the time I get to it. So remember that. I'm going to get to it later. Nonetheless, thanks for being here, guys. Let's go. While everyone's worried about Georgia this, Bama that, Jamie Chadwell silently working Rise With Us. First and foremost, I believe Jamie Chadwell spells his name Jamie. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. If you guys didn't know, Seth here, Seth is saying, while everybody's talking about Georgia and Alabama, the real team on the rise is Liberty. That's what he's saying. And shout out to Liberty. Just lost Hugh Freeze, went over to Auburn, right? Liberty is the new Boise State. They're going to have great coaches, and the Power 5 is going to poach those great coaches, just like Boise State's been doing for the last 20 years. Boise State head coaches, Dirk Cutter, Dan Hawkins, who's the kid? Peterson, Harsin. They had like 5 in a row that were so good at Boise State, they got hired by Power 5s. They didn't all work out. Some went good, some went bad. But Boise State's been a feeder program for Power 5 schools from the coaching position. Liberty's just fed with Hugh Freeze, and now they have Jamie Chadwell, potential to build him up there, and then they're going to feed him to a Power 5 school. Watch. It's going to happen. Liberty's a quality program. They recruit great. They got great facilities. They do well on the field. They just showed up out of nowhere, and they're in the top 25 all the time. Excuse me. And shout out to Jamie Chadwell. Now, if you guys want season tickets, let me tell you who you can afford to see play. It's Liberty. The Liberty Flames season tickets start at $120 for 7 games. You heard me right. 7 games, 7 home games, $120. Now, I don't know where that seats you, but that's an incredible price. Somebody needs to check who they're playing in their home games and then go to a Liberty game. Enjoy it. If you don't know where Liberty's located, Google is your friend. Okay? Way too early. Apparently, Cool Lawhorn got into the chat way too early. You weren't too early, bro. Other people beat you to it. Where the hell is Willie Bobo right now? Where's Willie Bobo? Notre Dame record predictions. Nolan K. Let's pull it up, man. Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up. Notre Dame record predictions. Now, not everybody's going to agree with me, but I'd agree with you guys, but then we'd both be wrong, okay? Rico knows. I have an idea about Notre Dame. I don't think they're going to be very good this year. I think they lost 2 of their leading receivers. They lost their tight end, right? Michael Mayer in the draft. He was their safety blanket. One of their star receivers in the transfer portal, the leading receiver, Caleb Smith from Virginia Tech, retired before ever playing. So he's the leading receiver from Virginia Tech. He transfers over to come play with Sam Hartman, and he retires due to injuries. Never played. They just lost Styles to Ohio State. Okay? They do have Greathouse. Is it Jaden Greathouse, the kid coming out of high school, out of Texas? Good player. I watched all his tape. Looks like a stud. I'm not going to say you're going to have a great season off of a freshman wide receiver. They moved Tyree to wide receiver, to slot. They're doing some other things. He was a third-string running back. But they lost Logan Diggs, and they have a great running back room. They got Sam Hartman. I don't believe in Sam Hartman. I don't think he's a Power 5 stud of any sort. I think he's a good quarterback. He played well at Wake Forest. But a huge portion of his production in the last 2 years was A.T. Perry's catch radius. And everything A.T. Perry does for that man, he doesn't have at Notre Dame. So I think Notre Dame struggles with their weapons. I really do. I know that sounds crazy. They have a favorable schedule, though. They start off with Navy. Navy's got a new coach. Navy's not it. Tennessee State, going to smash them. NC State, I believe Notre Dame wins that game. Central Michigan, Notre Dame will be 4-0, and everyone will be talking about how ranked they are. They might even be in the top 10 at this point. I don't want to hear it. I'm telling you right now, Ohio State's beating the brakes off of them. Then they got to go on the road. at Duke and at Louisville. And I'm telling you, I'm prepared to say they lose both those games. And they're definitely going to lose against USC. So that's 4 losses in a row. I'm going out there and saying Notre Dame has 4 losses in a row. Potential. Now, could they go 2-2 in those games? Sure. But even at 2-2, I still can't buy those first 4 wins being anything significant. And that's why their games against Pitt and Clemson don't excite me. It doesn't look good for the home team. Now, they're going to beat Wake Forest and Stanford, but they have potential to have 4 or 5 losses. I've got Notre Dame with 5 losses. Anybody else would have them with at least 3. There's no way they're beating Ohio State, USC, or Clemson. Just there isn't. I'm not buying that junk for a minute. All right, so they at least have 3 losses. I'm willing to give them 2 more because I'm saying Duke and Louisville on the road back-to-back after getting smashed by Ohio State. And that game against Louisville is a trap game all day long. You know you got USC, who will be a top 5 team at that point. This is murder's row for Notre Dame right here. This will be the longest 4 weeks of a Notre Dame fan's life, as far as I'm concerned. So thank you for asking. Notre Dame, give it to me 8-5, 9-4 at best. At best. Remember where you heard it. You guys are going to freak out when I say it. Remember where you heard it. Give me my credit. Well, I'm going to come back to this recording and go, I was right. I'm going to make an I was right video, and the rest of the world's going to go, there's no way he called this in June. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. I'm calling it now. I'm calling my shot, y'all. And how many times am I right? Well, you can check the playlist. Just letting you know. Shout out to you for the question, though. How you doing, Rico? Braden Miller. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing what I love. I'm doing great. I went and ate at my favorite Mexican restaurant today. Had 3 carne asada tacos. Had a chicken quesadilla. I also had some Jamaica to drink. This is me. This is me, man. This is what I like to do. So thank you. I'm doing great. Let me rephrase that. Ask one question. Okay, yeah, there you go, Steve. Ask as many questions as you want. I love how his niche is the transfer portal. Okay. But he slips in a few videos on Jordan Buchanan, Austin Simmons, and other things. Compliments the page really well. Thank you, Seth. Yeah, my niche is knowing. My niche is knowing. And the transfer portal, what makes me unique about the transfer portal is no one else knows it. That's all that is, right? But I definitely know every aspect of sports on varying levels, and I like to share that with people. But I do stay away from a lot of NFL stuff. I just don't like the fan base of the NFL. They don't seem nearly as educated. At least when I talk about colleges, I may potentially be talking about or talking to an alumni, someone college educated. It's a different conversation. They can grasp more. They can comprehend more. They know what I'm trying to say. And then I'm careful. The recruiting videos can be crazy. I did that Austin Simmons recruiting video, and I started it by telling everybody, Caleb Johnson is not going to Mississippi. Caleb Johnson is not going to Ole Miss. That's what I predicted. I was 100% right. He did not go to Ole Miss. Ole Miss went and signed a quarterback out of high school in Austin Simmons. And everybody in the comments is writing going, oh, Rico, you got it wrong. You missed. You know what they're saying? You know what they can't understand? That there's 2 different guys I'm talking about in that video. They think I predicted Austin Simmons was not going to Ole Miss. They don't even know that I'm talking about Caleb Johnson. I'm telling you, their attention span is that of a gnat. You ever had a gnat in your ear? You swipe it away and you tell it to go away, and then the gnat forgets that you told it to go away, and it comes back, and it keeps coming back over and over because it doesn't remember that it nearly died by going towards your ear. That's how these kids are, man. They just don't remember. They don't even know what's going on. Their attention span is 10 seconds of Google. This is why do it for the Vine was such a big thing. It used to be 15 minutes of fame. 15 minutes of fame. And then it turned into the Vine. 6 seconds is all they got. I'm hoping they got the attention span for at least a 3-minute video because that's what I make. And I'm here on YouTube and I'm talking for 2 or 3 hours tonight and they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Them kids have never watched a live stream of mine. Oh, Rico missed. Rico missed. Oh, you were wrong. Why don't you just make a video and say you were wrong about your prediction? I'm like, my prediction was Caleb Johnson's not going to Ole Miss, and he did not go to Ole Miss. How do I know this? Well, maybe I talk to the individuals involved. Maybe I'm not just winging it. I had a guy say, how do you know where he's going? I haven't read it anywhere. There's no news. And I looked at it, and I wrote in the comment, I said, dude, I am the news. I am the source. How do I know? Because I've already talked to the family. How do I know? Because I've had this discussion with the decision makers on the phone. You guys, I am the source. At some point, you got to respect, oh, hey, I saw this, I learned this, and I read this, and I watched this on Rico Knows. I'm no different from Twitter, Barstool. I'm no different from any of them. I am the credible source. Get at me. That's the plan. That's the truth. And that's why I'm always right. Man, Rico doesn't miss. How's he right? Because I'm the damn source. Seriously. Back to the questions. Where's Willie Bobo? I don't know, bro. Willie Bobo's on the West Coast. I don't know where he's at. Thoughts on Nebraska and how Rule has been recruiting so far? Noah Lux. I say it every night. Matt Rule is the truth. He's a great coach. And Matt Rule, when he was at Baylor, after fixing everything at Temple, he moves over to Baylor. And when he got to Baylor, right now, Dave Aranda is riding the Matt Rule success to the fullest. And he's doing great. Shout out to him. But Matt Rule got there and realized, I need to own the state of Texas. We are Baylor. I need to own the state of Texas. And he hired some amazing head coaches from high school football teams in Texas. And he made them position coaches, one of them being Joey McGuire, now the head coach at Texas Tech. But he hired position coaches that were former high school coaches. And he did this simply for a Texas pipeline. Just to have the right pipeline with the Texas coaching administration. Right, there's like a think of it as like an allegiance, an alliance of coaches in Texas. It's their I'm trying to think of the word. I want to say administration, but there's a word for this where they all come together. All the coaches are a part of this collective, if you will. And the president of it, Matt Rule, just hired him in Nebraska. Matt Rule is out there to get them in Nebraska. It's amazing. So he's going to own a portion of the pipeline in Texas by hiring Texas high school coaches at Nebraska. It's the same recipe he did 4 years ago. I think it's going to work. I think he's doing well. Now, he needs to continue to dominate the transfer portal. That's important. And he did well. I got him somewhere in my top 15 for sure in the transfer portal. The Texas High School Coaches Association. There it is. THSCA. Yep, that's what I was talking about. Shout out to TikTok. I don't talk to you guys, but thank you for the answer. So that's what Matt Rule's doing at Nebraska, and it's going to make a huge difference. And I've talked about this before. If you looked at Scott Frost and his last recruiting class, he signed one kid out of Texas. In his 2022 recruiting class, one kid out of Texas, the quarterback. Forgetting his name right now. He had transferred to Incarnate Word. So he's no longer an FBS level player. He was injured his senior year out of San Antonio. He didn't even play his senior year. It was like a throwaway offer scholarship in Texas. Other than that, Scott Frost was trying to get kids from Louisiana and Florida because he was going the Mickey Joseph route. So Scott Frost had the wrong recipe. I believe Matt Rule has the right recipe. Shout out to him. Why is that thumbnail? Why is that the thumbnail you choose for the live stream? Because I am him. So it's me. Caleb Mathis said, yo, what up, yo? Hey, dude, Caleb, keep grinding, man. Keep grinding. And I see you're blowing up on YouTube. Blow up, man. Make that money. Do your thing. Shout out to you and your mother. Your mom's still doing her podcast, I hope. Do your thing. What up, Rico? Blessings, brother. Shout out to Digital Assets, Jared. Jared's a man amongst boys. He's always out there doing the thing. I appreciate him. Thank you very much. Shout out to all the young ladies who competed the AAU Volleyball Nationals in Orlando. All right, Eric Gonzalez. You better stay away from those young ladies unless you're a parent. I'm cool with parents. My daughter plays volleyball in Orlando. Shout out to Sierra. But cool. Sorry about misspelling Willie's name. No disrespect intended. It's okay, John Bryan, Mr. Two First Names. We appreciate you. What up, Caleb? There it is. Rick Jammin. Rico. My name's Rico. Your phone might autocorrect, but get it straight. Rico. Nothing much, just chilling. There you go. Big Timmy. Sound. Sorry about the sound, guys. We should be good. I had to fix the mic. Form v. from. Form versus from. Got it. Where are you from? Got it. Amen. Let the dads have one day. Let me have one day. There you go. That's what's good. Good luck this season. There we go. Are you a fan of the Bill trade for Phoenix? They made two major moves since getting eliminated, firing Monty and trading for Bill. I have a problem with the trade because it doesn't fix their problems. Connor, Some organizations will never fix their problems. They are chronically terrible at making decisions for their organization. Firing Monty was a terrible decision. I made a video about it. I don't agree with firing coaches of the year. I don't agree with firing coaches that got you to the finals. I just don't. I didn't like when they fired, what's his name? Mark, short dude at Golden State, point guard. I'm drawing a blank right now. You know his name. I didn't like firing him for Steve Kerr. Right? I was like, yo, why'd they fire Mark? What are we doing? It happens. And I know everybody's going to point out, oh, see what they did in Toronto when they fired their coach? And yeah, Mark Jackson. And when they fired their coach in Toronto, and I'm going, Nick Mertz? Like, yeah, dude. They also got a great player, right? What are we doing? So the Suns, to me, they're not a winning franchise. Literally not a winning franchise. So don't be surprised when they make non-winning decisions, right? It's like in the NFL, there are certain franchises, the Lions or the Browns, and you go, why did they make that decision? You're like, well, they don't know how to win. They're not accustomed to winning. They just consistently make the poor decision, the wrong decision, all the time. Embrace it. So that's what's happening there. I am not a huge fan of the moves. Shout out Caleb. There you go. Shoot and shout. There we go. Good luck. Willie Bobo. Shout out to me, yo. Didn't know you were here. Shout out to you. I also don't like the firing of Monty either. There you go. Not a chance. Also, shout out to Willie Bobo. Thank you, guys. Willie's here. Infamous. Shout out to Caleb. Best spot for him is backup Holiday in Milwaukee. Tim Davis, that's what we're talking about. If you say him, we don't know who you're talking about. Now, I know you're talking about Chris Paul, but just want you to be clear. When you say something like him, write out the whole name, because by the time we get there, we won't ever remember. What happened with Austin Simmons? Nothing happened with Austin Simmons. Michael Perez, he's a young kid. He's 17 years old as a sophomore in high school. That means he was reclassified already. He was held back in the 8th grade. Everybody's holding somebody back in the 8th grade so they can be better in high school. He's overdeveloped. Now they move him forward a grade. Now they can say, well, he moved forward twice. Well, it's just making up for the one where he moved back. They tell me he was homeschooled to get those credits. They tell me he was homeschooled to get that GPA. I don't care. I just didn't like his father lying to newspapers, journalists. Journalists are trying to do their job, report factual things. If they call you, tell them the truth. You ain't got to run the okey doke on a journalist. That's not cool. And if you're gonna lie, or you don't want to tell the truth, just say I have no additional information at this time. I have no comment. You don't go out there and lie. That's not okay. And when you teach your kids a lack of integrity, that can trickle over into so many ways. And justifying it by like, yo, we got to do this. We had to do this. We got to get a deal. No, your kid has a great GPA. He's a 4-star player. He's going to get a scholarship wherever he chooses to go. You don't have to lie about it. Be upfront and honest and transparent. That's what needs to be valued. And that's what I'm ridiculing. That's what I have an issue with, is a father setting an example for his child, justifying a lack of integrity. It'll never fly with me. You might want to look up the military 7 values. The military 7 values. Look them up. One of them starts with I. I'm just letting you know. I live by these values for the last 20 years of my life. So that's how that goes. Yes, XFL, Rico knows. You said it from the start. Yeah, Eric Gonzalez, I've always been on the XFL. I've been trying to tell everybody it's going to make a difference, and it has, and it is. Will you be doing a Who Are the Best Teams Since 2000 video as part of your Who Is playlist? That was not part of the plan. I think it's not that difficult to see who's had the most wins since the year 2000. You can just go look at records. People know who's won the most national titles. But what is difficult is tracking 7 rounds in a draft. So my next Who Is video is probably coming out this week, is Who Is Wide Receiver University. Who is Wide Receiver U based on draft picks since the year 2003. I only go back 20 years. Everybody likes to go since the year 2000. I like to go back 20 years intentionally. 2003 is my limit, and that's where I stop, just so we know. When did Prime stop wearing bandanas? Jesse, this man went and stumped me early. I do not have a clue when Coach Prime stopped wearing bandanas. I would imagine it has to do with when he stopped wearing a helmet. A lot of my teammates wore bandanas when they wore helmets. It would mess up your waves. It would mess up your hair. The helmet would irritate you if you got like a braid stuck here, whatever. I'm not sure Prime's ever had braids. I think he did. But yeah, you used to wear a headband or a bandana when you were wearing a helmet. That was part of it, right? It was part of keeping your hair out of your eyes. For me, I used to have hair gel that would come down. I would get hair gel when I'd be sweating, and I played in really, really high heat. Super hot where I'm from. So big facts. Mark Jackson, thank you very much. All facts. All facts. No, nothing else. You and the fam ever going to coach again? Junior All-American Football Champs 100. Biggie the Cane Corso. So if you guys don't know, I used to be a coach in Junior All-American Football. So did my father. This is an equivalency to Pop Warner, but I used to coach 13-year-olds. And we were back-to-back champions in the state of California. We could have beat anybody in the world. We had some of the greatest players. And a lot of our guys went to the NFL. A lot of our guys were drafted. A lot of our guys played great in high school. We just had a good collection of players, and I'm a phenomenal coach. So shout out to you, Biggie the Cane Corso. I don't know who you are, bruh. Thank you for knowing that, though. I don't know if they're ever coaching again. I highly doubt my father's coaching again. But as far as I am, I'm not off the table in coaching. It's crossed my mind. It's just right now, I don't know. I don't know my capacity in that regard. I have a hard time just being a position coach. I have a hard time just being a member on a staff. That's not who I am. I'm a damn first sergeant in the Army. I run an organization of 300 people. That's what I'm used to. So if I can't run a whole football team, what am I doing here? Especially if I'm a genius, right? And I am a football genius. So it's just different. But, yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for knowing that. That's cool. Little fun fact there. I think nice takes. Thank you, Maurice Davis. I appreciate you, man. Try Glasson says, I think Troy Taylor is going to bring back Stanford football. I can see them competing in the Pac-12 championship or whatever conference they're in by 2024. So Try Glasson, a couple things got to go right for Stanford. Number one, USC and UCLA have to leave the conference. They have to leave the conference for Stanford to be relevant in the Pac-12. And the reason for that is when David Shaw just resigned and said, I'm leaving, it's because he saw the bounce back USC could do after a 4-win season. Remember, they won 4 games, and then this last year they go out and win 11. And he's like, man, they can just hit the transfer portal, pay a ton of money, and they can get all these guys. And it's not just money, because Stanford has money. It's admissions. Stanford doesn't allow transfers, undergraduate transfers, unless you are a high academic student. The only guy that was even questionable this year was Gavin Bernadal from FIU. Everybody else, undergraduate transfers, were from Ivy League schools. So if you're only getting good players from the Ivy League, we got a problem. You can't compete with these other teams. Look what Colorado did. Look what Arizona State did. These teams flipped their rosters in an instant, okay? And you're trying to keep up with them. Now, don't get me wrong. They got a great quarterback. They just got Elijah Brown. He just committed, right? Modern day quarterback. I told you he's the best quarterback in the country. He reminds me a lot of like that cerebral type quarterback. I cut from not really Andrew Luck. He obviously reminds me more of Russell Wilson, a shorter guy who can extend the play and throw the ball and does all the right things, but the right pedigree of quarterback going there to Stanford. Shout out to him. But winning it and being competitive in the Pac-12 is difficult. I love Troy Taylor. I like everything they're doing. It's difficult without being able to utilize the transfer portal like other teams. Other teams can utilize the transfer portal without restriction, without issue. And Stanford, they're fighting this fight with one hand tied behind their back, and that's why they're in the city. That's why they're in the situation they're in. Thoughts on Hawaii? Jacob, I did a video. I've done many videos on Hawaii. If you want to search TikTok, do a hashtag Hawaii space hashtag transfer portal, all one word, and you'll see my thoughts on Hawaii. So if you do 2 hashtags in one search bar, so you go to TikTok, click on the homepage, go to the search bar, and just do hashtag Hawaii space hashtag transfer portal, all one word. And you can do that with every single team that you care about or you're curious about. What does Rico say about them? If you do a hashtag, your favorite team's name, and then transfer portal, you will get all the videos I've ever made on that particular team. So it's just something you should look into, and you'll hear what I think about Hawaii. I love Timmy Chang. I hope he can keep all the kids on the island. I hope he can get kids to come back to the island. They're not going to improve their facilities. They're not going to get a better stadium. But my goodness, Can they do the rest? So I like Timmy Chang. I like Hawaii. Guessing wide receiver U is either Bama or Ohio State or USC. We will see the drama. Yeah, exactly. Rico, your thoughts on the air-conditioned helmets. So Lawrence RBE, a couple things. Air-conditioned helmets are very seasonal. By October, they're not relevant anymore. Everybody's playing in colder weather. So they're good for the hot weather teams. I played in 100-plus degree weather. Air-conditioned helmets, I guess they help. I'm cool with it. I want air-conditioned shoulder pads. I want air-conditioned pants, right? I want air-conditioned everything. But air-conditioned helmets, I guess it's not a real selling point. Good for them. I hope they can play football. Not worried about it. I hope they can play football. What city, Junior All-American Football? Indio. Yeah, Preston, Indio. What do you think about Jaden Davis and his future at Michigan? Nothing really, Christian. I don't really worry about people's futures at particular places because of the transfer portal. So more power to them. Whatever they want to do. Hopefully you get in the rotation. Hopefully you contribute and play. That's how I feel about a lot of players. So I don't waste too much time worrying about somebody's comfort, fit, or happiness at a school. If they don't like it, they can leave. If they're not there for it, they're gone. Not much else to it. Do you think Coach Lee has done enough at Vandy to make them a bowl team as the SEC gets more competitive? Russell Garges, what the hell are you talking about, the SEC being more competitive? The SEC is not getting more competitive. The SEC has an upper echelon and everybody else. There's nothing more competitive about it. They don't even play each other. If they wanted to be more competitive, they would play 9 conference games. That would be more competitive. We'd find out who's better in the conference. Instead, they don't play each other. They play out of conference teams. So what are their chances of making a bowl game? Better than other conferences because they play out of conference games. They won't play each other. If they had to play each other, slim pickings. And that goes for every team in the SEC. But let's go pull up their schedule. Let's see how many games they're going to win. By the way, has he done enough? Has Lee done enough? If you guys don't know, Coach Lee is the new head coach at Vandy, and he's the former defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. This is why they got some Notre Dame transfers. But look, they're going to beat Hawaii. They're going to beat A&M. They're going to beat Wake Forest. They're going to beat UNLV. Once again, they'll be 4-0 like anybody else. They'll be 4-0 like anybody else. They're losing. I got them losing the rest of the way. I got Vandy at 4 wins. Done. Don't make a bowl game. How you like them apples? Hawaii upsets UCLA in Honolulu, and LSU gets revenge on FSU in week 1. Those are the big predictions to start the season. Miles, those are your big predictions? Okay. USC, hey, write them down, Miles. Miles, if I made takes like that and put them on video, I would have to answer to missing. I can't miss, bro. I can't just randomly say stuff like that and hope I'm right. You guys just get to say random shit and put it out there into the world. No one's going to hold you accountable for it. I put it on a video. I get held accountable for missing. I don't miss, but shout out to you. USC had Big Ten patches on their jersey for this weekend's recruiting visit. Pulled out the yacht and breakfast on crypto floor. Recruiting game is so crazy. James Campos, everybody's doing something special. Do a running back U video soon. Joseph Villalon. Let me show you something, man. If you go to TikTok on your phone or wherever, so let's go to TikTok. I'll pull it up right now. I'm going to show you something. And you go to my page. I gotta look myself up. Rico Knows. Let's just look up Rico Knows. I'll pull it up for you guys right now. Give me a second. And you go to my page. It's like this on your phone as well. It just doesn't look like this. But if you go to my page, you see these rectangles up here above the videos. You got all the videos, and you have these rectangles above it. There's a rectangle. Now I have to actually drag my scroll bar because it's the desktop. Give me a second here. Oh, don't do this to me. Why can't I demonstrate this? Man, this browser is ridiculous. Well, there's a playlist in these rectangles right here. I can't even get to the playlist. Why can't, you know what? I can. Let me do that. There we go. Scroll it over. There's this arrow right here. If you hit this little arrow, or on your phone, you can just scroll to the right. You'll see a playlist called Who Is. I think I just passed it because of the way this damn browser's set up. Excuse me. Yeah. And the Who Is, I think this is it right here. Who Is, right here. Boom. And if you go into Who Is, there's already a video on running back you. And the question is, where is it? Who is running back you? This is it right here. It's the 5th video. So we're on to running backs. Who's running back university? The video's been made for 2 weeks now. None of you guys watched it. So that's how you find it. Go to Who Is, playlist. There's playlists on the homepage. Pick one. Watch all the videos in the playlist. You'll learn a shit ton of stuff. Just letting you know. All right? Shout out to you, brother. What do you think about Joey McGuire and Texas Tech in the new Big 12? So, Zach, I'm high on Texas Tech. I have them in my top 25. I like Joey McGuire. I like his players more. I think he has a good team. So that's what I think about them. Rico W., thank you very much. Opinion on Dwight McLaughlin at Arkansas? No real opinion on Dwight. I like Arkansas as a whole. So shout out to Arkansas. No specific opinion on Dwight. If you want me to break it down further, I probably can. But that's where I'm at right now. That's just where I'm at. What do you think about UVA? They're going to have a rough season. Tony Elliott, they're going to have a rough season. UVA is going to have a rough season. Somebody in the ACC's got to lose games, and Boston College can't be the only one. So shout out to UVA. Yeah. Let's see here. FYI, I think the chat jumped on you, skipped a bunch in the middle. Oh, let me go back. Did I skip a bunch in the middle? I did. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. It happens all the time. Let's go back. I know it's basketball, but with Huggins firing, think we will see some of those transfers they just signed pop right back out. So, yeah, just so everybody knows, when your coach gets fired, you get a free transfer in college sports. Within 30 days of the firing, every single player in the program has the option to transfer at their own discretion. Like, if they want to leave, they can leave. So every single player at West Virginia can leave if they want to. So they signed some guys. There's going to be some movement at West Virginia for sure. For sure. West Virginia might have had the worst 2 coaches in combination of basketball and football, right? The worst 2 coaches on the hot seat. Huggins was on the hot seat from his slur on the radio. Huggins was in trouble. Now they were going to let him finish it out because he's old, and they were going to let him do it. But now he's gone. And my goodness, is Neil Brown on the hot seat. Just letting you know. They're going to get Chase Daniels monies. Oh, you talking about the backup quarterbacks on the bench? See, that's pretty tough. I don't know who they is. Steve even did it wrong. You can't tell me they. I don't know who they are, but I know what you meant. 3rd-string quarterbacks getting money. Did that new quarterback rule have something to do with San Francisco 49ers last season? Eric Gonzalez, it always has something to do with the teams that are currently in the league. I'm not saying specifically just the 49ers, but yes, it has something to do with every situation where teams are missing quarterbacks, not on their practice squad, and not available for the game, and they have to sign somebody off the street. That's just not feasible, especially in a quarterback-driven league. It could have been the same thing with the Dolphins. Remember, they had to start Skylar Thompson at quarterback last year in the playoffs as well. And that's a 7th-round draft pick starting because they didn't have any other quarterbacks on the roster. So something like that. Unless someone else is paying more, they got to sit and play out an agreed collective agreement they received. I don't know who they is. I don't know what any of that's about. Not all of his furniture is arranged upstairs. Not sure what this is about, guys. I'm losing it. Berm isn't a character guy. Berm. Don't know. Oh, Herm Edwards. Herm is not a character guy. No, Tim Davis. Herm Edwards is an NFL coach, a former NFL coach. NFL coaches don't care about character. They actually think they can change everyone's character. They think they can make it better in their organization. They have a huge ego. They think they can fix it all. So NFL head coaches are notorious for this. This is why, certain players get multiple chances. Randy Gregory's still in the league, guys. Randy Gregory's still in the league. Go look him up. Randy Gregory's in the league. Coaches just believe they can fix anyone. Laramie Tunsil's still in the league. Like, guys are just walking around, walking red flags. They don't care. And Herm Edwards applied that to Arizona State and had a couple of knuckleheads in that room. Didn't care. Is it going to help me win games or not? Yeah, that's how it works. Which secondary will take a big jump and which secondary will take a step back? So, Alston Tyler, to answer the question with one team, I think the USC secondary takes a big jump forward and improving. Okay, the USC secondary. At the same time, and this is mainly because they've addressed their secondary needs in the transfer portal, but at the same time, you want to talk about a secondary regressing? You look no further than North Carolina. North Carolina lost Dre Bly as their secondary coach. Dre Bly moved over to the Lions to be a coach. And they had all 6 guys that contributed primarily in the secondary all hit the transfer portal. Gone. 2 of them are at Louisville. The rest are at like Memphis and some other places, but one at Georgia Tech. They're all gone. Tony Grimes went to A&M. But they're all gone. That means they had to replace them, and they did. They got Elijah Huzzy from the FCS. He's an FCS All-American. Love everything about Elijah Huzzy. Go watch the tape. Elijah Huzzy coming out of East Tennessee State. He was a high school quarterback out of Heard County here in Georgia, and he went to East Tennessee, played, looked great, had double-digit pass breakups. This is a stud of a corner, and now he's going to North Carolina, where he belongs, in the Power 5. But I really think that North Carolina's secondary is going to be in trouble. I really do. Another thing that's going to hurt them is if Drake May is scoring points. If Drake May is playing lights out, that defense and that secondary will be on the field a hell of a lot more than they anticipated because their offense is going to be scoring like crazy, theoretically. Now, I think they're going to be behind a ton because of that secondary, and that leaves Drake May having to pass a ton to try to catch up in games. All of this puts your defense on the field more when you get 3 and outs, when you have incompletions, the clock, all this stuff. So it doesn't look good for North Carolina in my assessment, and I've been really thinking about it from that regard. So thank you for the question. He can come out of prison a lieutenant with the amount of time. Leveling up in the jungle is tough. Joseph Villalon. I don't know. Oh, you're talking about the DB. Okay, there we go. Talking about the DB. Cool. Herm, not a character guy. There you go. Thoughts on Wisconsin running back room. Clarence, Wisconsin running back room. So if you guys don't know, the starting running back of Wisconsin wears number 0. It's Braylon Allen. This is a kid who graduated high school a year early. He reclassified. He left. He skipped his senior year of high school. 17 years old. Shows up to Wisconsin, a 17-year-old, and as a true freshman, rushes for over 1,200 yards. He's 6'2", 220. He's built. He's the Herschel Walker of today. He's just so amazingly built. He's ready to take over the world. Braylon Allen is the truth. Okay. Last year, as a sophomore, at 18 years old, rushed for another 1,200 yards. Back-to-back 1,200 yards at Wisconsin. An amazing running back. Shout out to Braylon Allen. Now, he's 19. He just turned 19 in January. So his birthday's in January. Don't ask me why I know all this stuff. I don't know, guys. I'm just sitting here. I didn't even know this question was coming, and I'm ready for it. Now, the backup running back, Chaz Malusi. I can't say his name properly. Chaz is a transfer from Clemson. Rushed for 600 yards last year. Great compliment back. I think the two of them are so great they had 2 other running backs transfer out because they're taking all the carries. The problem is Phil Longo doesn't know how to use running backs. Phil Longo is the former offensive coordinator at North Carolina. He just got hired by Luke Fickell. And Phil Longo is a passing wizard. He wants you to throw the rock everywhere. And they have the quarterback for it, and they have the receivers for it. So Wisconsin's going to be a little different than you're used to. If you're used to the Monte Ball, Ron Dane, James White, if you're used to all those running backs who used to just carry the rock and run over people at Wisconsin, and they still have that in Braylon Allen. But Phil Longo, if you look at what he's done from the offensive coordinator perspective, he had Drake May throwing the ball, and Drake May was the team's leading rusher. Everybody talks about dual threat quarterbacks and Caleb Williams and all that stuff. Drake May actually led his team in rushing as well. He led them in passing and rushing, which is absurd. Why are you not using your running backs? So I hope he adjusts to his personnel. I hope he does the right thing because he has 2 great running backs at Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's running back room, I had them 12th. I did a video, top 10 running back rooms in the country. I would probably move them up to 10th ever since, because I had Houston at 10, and Houston lost Alton McCaskill IV to Colorado. And I think that Wisconsin's right there. I think they're at 10th in the country for sure, in the top 10 for sure. But there's other teams with 3 or 4 really good running backs. But shout out to I like Wisconsin's running back room. Texas Longhorns record prediction. They're going to win a lot of games, Joseph. I think Texas Longhorns are going to win a lot of games. I'm not going to go there and give them each win-loss. But I can tell you this. For me, I have them 10th in my polls. I have them the highest-ranked Big 12 team. So if they can live up to the hype, if they can live up to the expectations, they're the highest-ranked Big 12 team for me. I do not have TCU ranked at all. I don't respect TCU at all this year. I don't think they're one of the top teams in the conference, country, nothing. I think they're a 5 or 6 win team at best. They lost 8 draft picks, and they weren't restocking a damn thing. They just had a miracle season last year, won a bunch of games in the second half. I really like Texas, but I equally like Oklahoma. I really do. I thought Oklahoma played great in their bowl game, and they looked good against Florida State. I think Oklahoma did well in the transfer portal and recruiting, just like Texas. But there's something about Texas and Sark and having Ewers at quarterback that they should be winning. Shout out to K-State and Texas Tech, but I like Texas this year in the Big 12. I'm fishing, but I'm listening good stuff so far. This man is fishing? Willie Bobo's out here fishing, bruh. You see Derek LeBlanc to UCF. Grading, I don't miss any transfer portal commitments. I have it up here in my bar, if you didn't know. If you see that right there, that means I'm going to go over it tonight. So I was going to address it here shortly. But yes, I see that LeBlanc went home like I said he would. He would go back home to a Florida school. We knew that was happening. He said he had to get back home for hardship. Guys, listen, it's not hardship. He couldn't start at Oklahoma. He couldn't handle Schmitty's workouts. If you don't know Schmitty, the strength and conditioning coach at Oklahoma. So Schmitty breaks him off. He can't handle it. He turns out and says some fake excuse about, I got to go home and deal with some problems. I got to get home. You know what that is, guys? That is social media posturing. That is seeding the story because he's going to try to apply for immediate eligibility. He's going to try to apply so he can play for UCF. And he's going to claim hardship, and he's going to try to get a waiver so he can play this year. And he's going to claim he had to be closer to home due to maybe the medical circumstances of his family or some ridiculous nonsense. The reality is he got to Oklahoma and goes, whoa, these guys can do this. And how do I know this? I've had multiple Oklahoma football players reach out to me to tell me he tapped out during workouts, didn't feel like he should be doing those workouts. He thought the workouts weren't tailored to defensive linemen. He thought they were too hard and too cardio-driven. All right, bro, you don't belong here. You got to go. You got to go. He's not built for the competition. They also brought in McCullough from Indiana, who's a real player in the transfer portal. These were guys that weren't there when he was being recruited. He just couldn't handle the front 7 rotation and the limited reps he was going to get as a true freshman. Well, go to UCF then. Go to UCF. More power to you. I hope he does well. We'll talk about it later. Michigan or Ohio State this year? Give me Michigan. I like Michigan again. I think they're dominant. I think, I like Michigan. Do anybody know if Vito Tisdale made it to Boulder yet? Is he on campus? Greg Larkins, I'm gonna hope that somebody answer that question because I don't know. I don't have the answer. I could reach out and ask. Obviously, Caleb's in the chat. I can reach out to some coaches. I can reach out to some players, but I try not to bother the Colorado guys. I got a ton of them following me. I got an open line of communication with about 6 Colorado players and several coaches. I don't even bother them. I appreciate that they support the channel. I try not to burn that bridge. I do send some funny videos to some of them every now and then, and something interesting or something like that. But other than that, I try not to bother them. I respect them immensely. So that's just how I get down. What up, Willie Bobo? There it is, LG7 talking to Willie Bobo. What is the most underrated state to find players in your mind? Alston Tyler, in my mind, the state to find underrated players, it's just because I don't think the nation gives them enough respect. And that's North Carolina. North Carolina produces the 4th most NFL football players of any state. And no one talks about it. Number 1 is Texas. Number 2 is California. Number 3 is Florida. And number 4 is North Carolina. Number 5 is Bama. 6 is Georgia. 7 is Ohio. 8 is Louisiana. 9 is Pennsylvania. I have the whole top 9 memorized. So, once again, North Carolina is 4th in producing the most NFL football players, and no one talks about it. It's not even up for discussion. No one talks about it. And these calculations were done in October of last year. They haven't accounted for this draft. I could go in there and change the numbers and figure out this draft. I could do that for us, but it would probably take me about an hour or two. But I just got to add 259 guys from the draft. But it's number 1, Texas. There are a little over 200 guys in the NFL from Texas. Number 2, California. They're at 152, I think, in the NFL. Florida's at 149 in the NFL. So 3 players more in Florida, or 3 players more out of California than Florida. And then you got North Carolina's at 114. Alabama's at 112. No, Alabama's at 91. Georgia's at 89. Louisiana, Ohio, I'm mixing them up. They're somewhere around there. And Pennsylvania's right behind them. So that's how it goes. Ohio's 7th. I know that. North Carolina, underrated. I respect them a lot. As a matter of fact, I want to say something to you guys. There's a high school in North Carolina. I'm in contact with the recruiting coordinator. So there's a guy on staff. His job is to get all the players at Oscar Smith, a perennial power in North Carolina. No, in Virginia, right? Oscar Smith in Virginia, they reached out to me, their recruiting coordinator. He sent me a ton of links to all his players' huddle tapes and says, hey, can you look at them, make some videos, see what we can get some pub and get it pushing. And I'm going to be addressing those probably this week because the request was put out a long time ago. I'm catching up. I'm about 2 months behind on the request, but I'll probably get to them this week, especially if the transfer portal's slow and I'm bored. So that's how that goes. What's good, Rico? What up, Jim Vaz? Hey, Jim Vaz. If you guys don't know who Jim Vaz is, he's an original supporter of the channel. He's a huge Fresno State fan. So shout out to Jim Vaz for being here. Appreciate you. UCF record prediction. FRG grading. Let me pull it up because I don't know who they're playing. I mean, I know that they have a difficult schedule because they're in the Big 12 for the first time. Shout out to Troy Aikman. They said he got married and got a girlfriend. I didn't even know Troy Aikman was batting on our team. I thought Troy Aikman was doing something for the Pride Month. But let me double-check UCF's football schedule. I've looked at it before. It's purple. So I'll pull it up here, and we'll call it out, and we'll see what we think. First and foremost, UCF is at Boise State. That's going to be a very difficult game for them. On the blue turf, Boise State's got a great team this year. That's going to be a tough game. So they're going to win 1, 2, 3, 4. It's conceivable that they win 5 games, 6 at best, if they beat Boise State. 6 games to get to a bowl game. Hopefully you win the bowl game. You win 7. I like John Rice Plumlee a lot. But for me, I think they can beat Cincinnati, though. That's the toss-up right there. I don't think they can beat Oklahoma State. And that's going to be – if they can beat Oklahoma State, they're winning 8 games if they win their bowl game. But Oklahoma State's going to be the big one. Towards the end of the year, I just feel like it's just so tough. It's like – but at the same time, can they go into Kansas and win? Yeah. Can they beat Baylor? Sure. Definite losses, 1, 2, 3. Only 3 definite losses. They got a lot of toss-ups. So, good luck. Their ceiling is 9 wins. Their floor is like 5 wins. I'm letting you know now. Their ceiling is 9. The floor is 5. Good luck. I like John Rice Plumlee a lot. I like Ernie Sims and what he's doing with the linebackers. I like the receivers. Right? I like so many things about UCF. He's got to put it all together. A&M and Miami Hurricane Week 2 prediction. Give me A&M. Give me A&M. If Miami wins that game, they're back. If Miami wins that game, they're on the map. If Miami wins that game, they're one of the best teams in the ACC because they beat the mighty SEC. Yeah, I got to hear it. No. Shout out to Jordan Yates for knocking off Colquitt County in the championship back in 2018. But everyone who knew Played against Yates, knew he was not built like that. Ooh. LJ2 Lit Media. Okay, so I made a video about Jordan Yates today. I was talking about it. Jordan Yates, one of the oldest sophomores in the country. He's played 4 seasons of college football, but none of them counted. He got a red shirt. He got a medical red shirt, and he got a COVID year. So Jordan Yates, if I can bring you guys back to Milton, playing high school ball, Colquitt County was nationally ranked. Colquitt County was the best team in 7A. Everybody knew it, and Milton and the boys showed up and beat Colquitt for the state title. And that was Jordan Yates, all-time leading passer and all-time great quarterback in Milton high school history. And Jordan Yates ends up going to Georgia Tech. And he runs into a depth chart he can't beat out, and he doesn't become the starter, and he transfers. Now Jordan Yates, he broke his ankle. He's at Sam Houston State now. Sam Houston State back in the FBS, or in the FBS. They just moved up here. They're in Conference USA. So I'm just pulling for the young man. He had to change positions after 4 years. He's been playing quarterback for 4 years. Now he's a running back / wide receiver / athlete. But, yeah, I made a video about him. I like Jordan Yates, man. You're saying he's not built like that? Okay. I still like the kid. I can appreciate kids going out there winning state titles, the first one in school history. That kind of stuff gets, that's stuff of legend. So shout out to him. Miami, bienvenido a Miami. Okay. What program has the fastest wide receiver and running back room? Ivo. Did you ask me this last time? You did ask me this last time. I think you did. I owe you an answer. I want to tell you some of the fastest wide receivers. I want to just start listing them off. Georgia has a fast one. Let me slow down and really do research on it. I think Texas Tech has a fast receiver, obviously, in Dre McCray. I got to really sit down and do that. That's going to force me to go over 133 teams to give you the right answer. I might do the 5 fastest wide receiver rooms or something like that. It's worth the video. It might just take a lot of work for me to get it right. And then people are going to scream and yell, you don't know how fast so-and-so is. You don't know nothing. Rico doesn't know. And they're just over there just eating crayons. Give us a Colorado prediction and any Coach Prime updates. Thanks in advance. So, a TZ to God. Thanks for being here. I've already given a ton of Colorado predictions. I don't want to give them every single night. If I can just direct you to my playlist on either YouTube or TikTok. There are a playlist on each one. So click on playlist on YouTube or go on to TikTok and select the playlist at the top of my videos on the homepage. Find Colorado. I have an entire playlist called Colorado. Watch every video. That will tell you everything I think about Colorado. And it'll let you know where I stand with them. UCF. Do you think that 8 wins are realistic for Oregon State? That's where I have them. Obviously looked at the schedule. All right, Connor, let me go look. By the way, I'm very high on Oregon State. I believe in Oregon State and their recipe for success. I love their coaching staff. Their running back room is a top 5 running back room in the nation. Definitely that worst. I think I had them 6th in my running back video. I have a running back room video somewhere. It's way older. I know it's on YouTube as well. You can definitely find it on YouTube if you just scroll back about 100 videos. But on TikTok, you're going to have to scroll back about 300. So I've never looked at this schedule. I don't think I've looked at this schedule, y'all. I haven't done this. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow. I think they can definitely win 8 or 9 games. I got them winning 8 or 9 games. And if you want to get froggy, they beat Oregon. They got 10. Oregon State is winning 8 or 9 games. How you like them apples? Oregon State winning 8 or 9 games. I just hit refresh on the transfer portal just to see if anything else happened. Also, I think CP3 needs to collect his new room massage pension, retire from the NBA, and go back to chilling on the banana boat. My goodness. Y'all are some haters, y'all. I don't think he's a Hall of Fame player. Right off into the sunset, bro. Call it a day. Do you think the changes made at Vandy are enough to make them a bowl team going forward? Did I already answer this? I feel like I already answered this. There's not enough changes. They just got to keep. They're going to always have. I have them winning 4 games next year. And if they win 6, congratulations. but that's not consistent. And the reality is once they start playing 9 conference games, they're never going to a bowl game. They got to play 9 conference games starting next year, I'm sure, starting 2024. They have to. Once you add 2 more teams to the conference, there's no justification for not playing each other. Will Derek LeBlanc have to sit out a year? Heard he needs some type of waiver. Yeah, he needs a hardship waiver to justify him playing. I think he has to sit out. I think he has to redshirt. It's just the way it's done. Texas High School Coaches Association, thank you. Yes. Will you be doing a top 15 wide receiver room video similar to your running back room video? Connor, it's so intricate. It was so difficult to do the running back one that it just took me so long. It took me like a week of preparation, and I didn't like it. It just took too long to make a video. It's not, the juice is not worth the squeeze. For me to take that long to make the video and only 5,000 people watch it kind of bugged me. It's just the way it goes. So I wanted to. The other thing I wanted to do was add tight ends to the list, and once I started adding tight ends, it just got crazy. What up, Rico? What up, Tom Rose? Appreciate you, man. Will you be doing a Who Are the Best? Okay, I did answer all this because I've been here. Thank you. I did skip this. All right, we're going to move down now. Sorry, guys. We're here. I remember doing this. You skipped. Thank you. Texas Longhorns record prediction. Think they do well. Stanford is my favorite school for academics. Slap happy. Shout out to you. Texas is running back you. No, they're not. But thank you for suggesting so. They are not running back you. I did research on this. They were not in the top 10 running back you. And not in the last 20 years. You've only had 3 drafted running backs. 1 second. So do you think Jackson Dart wins the battle if you think Spencer Sanders won't play at Ole Miss? How many games do you have Ole Miss winning? So, Preston, there is no battle. Jackson Dart is the starting quarterback. I'm telling you guys, Spencer Sanders is going to leave the school. I think once he finishes summer school, he's out. Spencer Sanders, they say he's doing summer workouts. Cool. I hope he stays in shape. I don't think he's playing football. And if I'm wrong, well, then my source lied to me. And we got to be careful with that. I don't predict. I usually don't predict. But how many games do I have Ole Miss winning? Well, let's go look at Ole Miss's football schedule. I believe in Ole Miss as a program. I believe in Lane Kiffin. But look at this schedule. Look at this brutal schedule they have. It's sarcasm, you guys. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins. Ole Miss. Give me 8. Give me 8 wins for Ole Miss. Give me 8 wins for Ole Miss at possibly 9 if they beat Arkansas. Possibly 9, but give me 8. There you go. That's real. Are you going to do conference predictions or something of the sort? Kronk, I'm not really sure if I want to do that. I've thought about it, but not necessarily. I want to do transfer portal predictions, how my guys are going to do in the season. I don't really care to surmise the entire season or conference. I want to stay in my lane of, hey, these are the transfer portal guys. I will be making my top 25 every single Monday, though. So it'll be a Rico Knows top 25 every Monday. That's for sure, after the results. So there's one thing there. Is Timmy going to run the run and shoot like June Jones did? You know, I don't know what Timmy's doing. I don't think Timmy's the offensive coordinator, Timmy Chang at Hawaii. I think he's doing some variation of a ton of yards and passing and stuff, but I don't know what he's doing. I really don't know what he's implementing. I got to maybe dig around and find out. So I owe you an answer. Sorry about that. Joseph Villian, Texas or Oklahoma, who's more ready to compete in the SEC right now? I think both of them are. Compete in the SEC right now? I think they both are. They both have very good teams. They have very good offense and defensive lines. They have 5-star quarterbacks ready to go in about 2 years. They're ready to compete in the SEC. They have really good recruiting classes. Yeah, they can play. There aren't very good teams in the SEC. There just aren't. There's teams in the SEC going to triple overtime with Kansas or losing to Wake Forest or getting blown out by Oregon State or getting smashed by Texas Tech. This is all happening. I mean, one of their best teams is Tennessee, and they went to overtime with Pitt. Like, it's not what you guys think, man. These guys can go and compete. And then once they get the SEC on their jersey, well, now you can recruit anybody. And now ESPN's going to say you're amazing. So they're fine. Both of them are fine. It's not what people are imagining. It's just not. Are you kidding me? Texas lost 5 games last year. And they nearly beat Alabama. It was a miracle that they lost to Alabama. An absolute miracle. Go back, watch the game. And a miracle that they lost to Alabama. And they lost 5 games. Texas 8-5 last year. Nah. Hawaii don't win. LSU wins. Okay, here we go. Slap Happy out here just saying random stuff. Happy just did Notre Dame. Yeah, just rewind it. Texas going to own LSU in the SEC. Potentially. Normally he won't. Texas not yet. How do you think LSU's secondary will be? I saw they got a bunch of transfers. So Cameron Hayes, they got a bunch of transfers, but it's a bunch of kids who've never played. It's a bunch of kids who've never played football. They played in high school. They're 4-star, 5-star guys, but they're not. If they're starting for you, what's going on? Michael Daugherty showed up out of high school and left after 8 weeks, right? Or 8 days. I don't know. But LSU secondary will be fine. And the reason they're going to be fine is they're going to have a hell of a pass rush. And if you ever wanted to play defensive back and make it easy on yourself, have a hell of a pass rush. Do you know how many times I see interceptions occur because the pass rush is so insane? The quarterback just lets it go. He's got to throw it. He's panicking. And those errant passes caused by the rush are going to get you some interceptions, some balls batted down. It's going to be fine. They're going to be fine. I like LSU a lot. This upcoming season. And I love Texas. Top 3 loaded quarterback rooms in the country. So I don't believe in loaded quarterback rooms, Joseph Villon. Loaded quarterback rooms don't matter. Your backup quarterback does not matter in college football. It's not the NFL. You're not going to have an experienced backup quarterback that's going to come in and win you games. Not happening. Your starter is your starter, and he's your whole team. That's your whole team. It does not matter who the backup quarterback is. Irrelevant. Who was Georgia's backup quarterback? Irrelevant. Right? Carson Beck not seeing the field under any circumstances. Doesn't matter. Caleb Williams, who's his backup? Irrelevant. Right? So best quarterback rooms in the country, just list the best 3 quarterbacks. And those are the best 3 quarterback rooms in the country. So just Caleb Williams, Michael Penix Jr., Drake May, and I'm good. Like, it doesn't matter. Whoever's backing them up doesn't matter. They're not playing. And if they are playing, your season's over. And that goes for about 90% of teams in this country. If your backup quarterback's on the field, you're not winning anymore. Shout out to TCU for being the unicorn and making people think you need quarterback depth. You don't need quarterback depth. SEC has been top-heavy for years with mediocre quarterback play across the SEC this year. Pac-12, Big Ten will by far be stronger leagues this year. Yeah, Al Green, I don't necessarily know by far, but once again, yes. If you can't start quarterback at your school, transfer to the SEC, you can start there. All the transfers are backup quarterbacks that couldn't start elsewhere or weren't wanted there. Shout out to Hendon Hooker, Jaden Daniels, Jackson Dart, Spencer Sanders, Graham Mertz, Joe Milton. It's a who's who of transfers that just show up. Will Levis, just guys who couldn't start anywhere else. Who's the kid from Miami? Jake Garcia. Yeah, just transfer. You can't start at your school. Go to the SEC. You can start there. It's a fact. I just named everybody. What team has the most delusional fan base? Notre Dame. Notre Dame comes to mind immediately. Miami comes to mind. Notre Dame, Miami. I think everybody else is pretty realistic. Oh, and Tennessee's getting out of pocket. One good season, they're out of pocket. Let me tell you, one good season, Tennessee lets me know about themselves every single day. Shout out to Coach Prime for getting all his players custom-made suits. Coach Saban told us to get it in the blood. Okay, to get it in blood. There you go. Most delusional is Florida State or Alabama. Not necessarily. They're winning, and they're going to be winning this season. So now it's warranted. Adding 9 conference games to the SEC schedule guarantees an extra loss for half the teams in the league. Correct. We've been over this 100 times. I see you every day now, Coach. All right. I appreciate you, Blunts. Hey, Blunts and Paper Podcast. This is a young man that I once coached in football, so it's nice to see him here. So if you guys ever see somebody in the chat calling me coach, it is one of my former players. But shout out to you, brother. I appreciate you being here. Is Garrett Riley going to Clemson, going to bring Clemson back to a natty contender in the next 3 years if he stays as the coordinator? Ruben Rust, it has nothing to do with Garrett Riley. I've looked at Garrett Riley's track record, his accolades. Nothing warrants him being the offensive coordinator at Clemson. Nothing. He's just been a mediocre guy everywhere. He has name recognition. It's nepotism. It's a hookup of all hookups. Nothing's great about Garrett Riley. Nothing. You know what's going to have Clemson a natty contender? Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik and Peter Woods and Jamal Anderson Jr. and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Like, they have great recruiting classes. They have great players at Clemson. They've been knocking it out, hitting home runs on the kids they get from high school, and that's going to have them contending for titles, not Garrett Riley. Nope. What are your thoughts on UVA quarterback Brennan Armstrong transferring to NC State? So, see, Gerald, I don't like the kid when I see him on tape. I don't know him personally, but seeing him on tape looks terrible. I don't care that he's linking back up with his old offensive coordinator. He looks terrible on tape. 7 touchdowns, 12 interceptions last year, and they tried to tell me, I think he tore a pectoral muscle, or maybe that was Leary. But Armstrong, they tried to tell me, oh, he's one of the top 5 rated quarterbacks in the portal, da-da-da-da. No, he is not. I've watched it. And I don't care what his stats were previously. You know what his stats were in 2021? Go back and look at the receivers in 2021 at Virginia. Go back and look at Woods at tight end, or who's the kid, the 4th, the transfer. Like, they don't understand how great his receivers were, right? Dontavius Wicks. He doesn't have that at NC State. And as a matter of fact, I don't think he ends the year as the starter. Here we go. I think Morris is the starter. MJ Morris, the backup quarterback, he's the best quarterback at NC State. I think he should be starting. I'm excited for him a hell of a lot more than Armstrong. The fact that they brought in Armstrong, cool. Good for them. Whatever. Give me MJ. You think Jeff Sims will do good at Nebraska? Jason Andrew, Jeff Sims is a hell of a football player. 6'4", 220, can really run the rock. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he will do good at Nebraska. It's just a difficult task. It's hard to win this year. They got a couple years of recruiting and transfer portal. I'll buy it. But this year is going to be tough, but I hope he does well. I have them winning 7 to 9 games, so we'll see what happens. Illinois secondary most certainly going to regress. Yes. Illinois secondary lost 3 draft picks and their defensive coordinator. Definitely going to regress. Thank you, Steve, for the reminder. Illinois secondary will not be anywhere near what it was. Not even close. So that's a huge one. And they did get a transfer from FIU. He's a stud. I like the kid, but he's there a year too late. So good for him. Randy Gregory was a beast. You can only be given chances if you're good. AB's an example. Bums aren't given second chances. Yeah, Chrissy, I hear you. But sometimes they are, but I hear you. Totally agree, by the way. Bobo doing Bill dance on us tonight. Fishing expertise. Okay. Would you rather watch Bo Jackson in his prime or Pat Mahomes currently? I've never been a fan of Bo Jackson. How you like them apples? I've never been a fan of Bo Jackson. I watched him play. I think it's all folklore. Bo Jackson was not the starter his rookie year. He split time with Marcus Allen. He eventually got to play. Bo Jackson was a fullback. Bo Jackson never rushed for over 1,000 yards in a season. I don't care if he was playing other sports. He played 11 games one season. He's just never done it, man. Bo Jackson is not him. There were some flashing highlight plays. He was a 2-sport athlete. At that time, we were infatuated with 2-sport athletes that could run on the wall in baseball and hit a 500-foot home run. But I'm telling you, Bo Jackson has never really impressed me to the extent that everybody talks about. Just never seen it. You've never rushed for 1,000 yards in your life, bro. 1,000 yards, guys. To rush for 1,000 yards, you only got to average 78 yards a game. That's it. 78. Never did it. He's not worth talking about. There's a lot better running backs than him. Who's starting quarterback at UCLA? Does Chip Kelly dial it back to the Oregon-style offense of old if Moore is the guy? So he's still using the Oregon-style offense. He really is. He just has different personnel. I think UCLA is built for handing the ball off to Carson Steele. They didn't get a 1,400-yard rusher to not give them the rock from Ball State. So UCLA has a great running back room. They have 3 running backs. It's a 3-headed monster. And I don't think Dante Moore is the guy. James Campos, he will not be the starter. Colin Schlee will start if Dante Moore is any good. Now, listen, if he's any good, 5-star guy, he should be starting by the end of the year. That's how most 5-stars work. 5-star quarterbacks start by the end of their freshman year, or they redshirt the whole year. When they redshirt the whole year, it's because they're backing up a professional. I don't think Colin Schlee is a pro, so he should be starting by the end of the year. Just like Trevor Lawrence, Cade Klubnik, right? Those 2 guys did it. They started by the end of their freshman year they didn't redshirt behind a pro. Okay, and I feel like they replaced non-pros. DJ Uiagalelei, Kelly Bryant, not pros, right? Colin Schlee, not a pro. Everybody else, redshirted. Every other 5-star in the last 5 or 6 years has redshirted. So, does he redshirt or does he play? Either way, he's not starting day one. Thoughts on Kentucky's wide receiver room? One of the best young wide receiver rooms out there in the country. Love how fast both of them are. They did lose Anthony in the transfer portal, but Barron Brown is the truth. I like Kentucky's wide receiver room. Can't wait to watch the Dairy Raid, in Wisconsin. It's a breath of fresh air for all the Wisconsin fans instead of watching them run into 9-man boxes every play. Yeah, let's see them throw it. Now, can you throw it on cold games? Can you throw it in the cold? We're going to find out. Thoughts on Texas wide receiver room? Start catching the ball. Xavier Worthy, don't drop passes. Shout out to A.D. Mitchell for being there. I like Texas wide receiver room. They got some young kids in there from the recruiting class. But Xavier Worthy needs to be the guy. Xavier Worthy needs to be the guy. Catch the ball. What's the group of 5 team you're most excited about? Jake, it's a loaded question. Group of 5 teams I get super excited about. So Texas State utilizing the transfer portal like crazy. I'm so interested to see what they can do. I'm interested in Charlotte because of everything they did in the transfer portal. Remember, I'm a transfer portal guy. So I want to see transfers, and I want to see them hit the field and do well. So Charlotte, Texas State, SMU, those are my big 3 that are on my mind. But I'm also curious to see what Trenton Difford does at UAB. I want to see what Ohio does because they have Rourke at quarterback and Sin Bangura at running back, Bangora at running back. I know every team, guys. I go nuts. I get more excited about a group of 5 game than I do SEC matchups that you guys care about. I get way more excited about a group of 5 matchup of Troy versus South Alabama than I would Georgia, Alabama. I find it boring. I find Power 5 schools against each other. I find them boring because everybody talks about them all week. You already know all the players. You can go to a group of 5 game and see a breakout performance by a dude nobody's ever heard of. That gets me excited. So that's just how that goes. Also, just found your channel through TikTok. Love how you covered the Simmons situation. Thank you so very much, John Jake Gaming. Yeah, I'm a father. My daughter just graduated high school. I'm a father of children, and when I see them acting out a certain way, I don't like them ganging up on this kid. This kid, he's got the goods. He's a good player. He's an underdog. Yeah, maybe he's an FCS player. Maybe he's a group of 5 player. That don't mean you get to team up on him and make fun of him because you got 100 friends in the chat. As soon as I saw the dude's comment got 67 likes, I was like, what are we doing? 67 people in here and thought it was cool to call another kid a name? Yeah, it's just all your friends. You just tweeted it out to all your friends. You just shared it with your friends. This is not cool. We're not doing that around here. And if the kid wants to know, if Austin Simmons wants to know, I got a hell of a lot more friends than him and all his high school friends. I got a lot more people rocking with me than that kid ever could. Remember that. So if we want to make a situation out of it, we can. But I don't appreciate young men name calling other young men on my channel using my platform to do it. So I don't call names. I just call it out, right? I just hold them accountable. Somebody said, why didn't you just delete it? If I just delete it, I'm an enabler. I allow him to say it with no consequences. I just delete it, and he continues to say it and spew it anywhere he wants because no big deal, somebody's going to delete it. But the minute you do it, and I put you on blast, and I put it out there for the world to see, now you need to think twice before you ever do it again because somebody might take a screenshot of it and share it with the world, which is what I did. So I hope the young man learns the lesson, but I've never once called him anything derogatory. I've simply been reporting what he's writing, reporting what he does, him or his father. And I'm not a fan of either one in that regard, right? Your conduct, I don't appreciate it. I have a higher standard for conduct. I'm a senior leader in the military, bro. We have certain levels of discipline, and I'm the guy who enforces it. I'm not just some random dude walking around. I literally enforce this on men and women that are adults, that are of this age. I know how to handle a situation. They might not agree. They're not cut from the same cloth as me. Rico Knows. Shout out to you, Lewis Henton. Thank you for being here. Lewis Henton, Roll Tide Road, man. Shout out to you. Do you think Bryce Underwood goes to Michigan? I don't guess at stuff like that, Christian. I don't worry about recruiting and where guys go in that regard. I don't sit here and predict nonsense like that. He could commit to them tomorrow and then change his mind another day. It's not going to matter to me. If you could get unlimited access to a college football program, who are the best sources in programs? The coaches. The coaches. Robert Lopez, the coaches. I think they're fascinating. They've been doing it a long time. They know all the players. They recruited them. They know their strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, I think the coaches. I believe Pennsylvania is underrated for how many players come out of the PA and keep feeding Penn State team. Yeah, Penn State as a university puts a ton of guys into the NFL. Now, how they perform in the NFL, not my problem. But Penn State puts a lot of people into the NFL. So, yeah. Who do you think will be the most impactful transfer portal player this year? Non-quarterback. James Campos, that's a huge question. That's a huge question. Non-quarterback, most impactful transfer. Huh. Well, it would depend on who wins the national title. It really would. It would depend on who wins the national title. Whew. Now, financially, it's got to be Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter's appeal, marketability at Colorado has to be the most impactful for a non-quarterback. Okay? But there's guys like Mason Cobb, all-conference linebacker from the Big 12, transferring to USC. If he can shore up the defense and make enough of an impact that USC goes to the playoffs and wins a national title, and the difference maker in the national title game is the fact that they actually play defense, well, there you go. That's the most impactful, right? Mason Cobb, right off the rip. And you don't get all-conference Power 5 transfers. You just don't. They stay at their school. So that's very rare to see a Power 5 all-conference guy transfer. But another guy I'm going to go with is it's got to be some type of receiver or running back. And I love Jamari Thrash, but Louisville, it doesn't matter. They're not a player in that regard. Can A.D. Mitchell get more than 30 receptions or targets? I don't know. But, yeah, that's where I'm going with it. Mason Cobb, Josiah Stewart at Michigan, Omar Spates at LSU. This is a linebacker transferring from Oregon State to LSU. If LSU wins the SEC and goes to the national title, it's going to be because Spates is playing lights out in the middle of that thing. And then maybe Logan Diggs is their starting running back. He could carry the rock and do great. So there you go. I believe. Next question. Thoughts on where 5-star Colin Simmons might go? None whatsoever. I don't worry about where 5 stars might go. Not my problem. Mallard Creek is a beast in North Carolina. Yes, they are. I see their name everywhere. Cameron Kitchens, thoughts? Is that the safety? The safety at Miami? 6 interceptions last year? 199 yards in return yards? I think it's Cameron Kitchens. Complete animal. Complete stud. Love everything about him. Y'all, this is my coach, and I feel like he knows what he's talking about, and I'm happy to see him doing it every day, doing his thing. Thank you very much, Blunts of Paper Podcast. I appreciate you, brother. I know you don't bet, but will you put anything on Colorado plus 22 to TCU? That line is just ridiculous. You know, Connor, I don't bet, and I'm in a state where gambling is not legal. So as long as I'm living in Georgia, while that line is like that, it's safe for me. But do I have stacks on stacks that I would be willing to put on that? Theoretically, hypothetically, you better believe it. I'm letting you know. Nebraska got some speed demons in this recruiting class. Yeah, they got Ferrari, right? They kept Ferrari in state. If you guys don't know, they kept Ferrari in state. That's his nickname, Ferrari. And, yeah, Nebraska got some speed. Rico, why did Bear Alexander transfer to, in your opinion, to SC? I never really got details. Thanks, bro. You know, there's no details outside of, hey, they needed help on the defensive line. They recruited him. It's probably the ideal place to go. It's not hard to want to play for USC in the sun, beautiful women, beautiful weather, and a great quarterback. So that's not a hard sell. Now, here's what bothers me. Bear Alexander, I hear nothing negative about the kid ever. Nothing. Soon as he hits the transfer portal, oh, he's overweight, he doesn't work out, I heard his academics are bad, he doesn't practice hard. Just the SEC fans, the Georgia fans, if you jump in the transfer portal from their school, they just immediately call you a bum. You're the worst. You're not any good. They don't wish you luck. They don't say, hey, once a Bulldog, always a Bulldog. That guy's great. They don't do none of that. They try to drag his name through the mud. And they go, well, he doesn't have grades. Yeah, he doesn't have grades? Are you sure? Are you sure? How the hell did he transfer and become fully eligible at USC? How did admissions approve it? He doesn't have grade issues. These people just make shit up. So there is no additional details. The reality is you're leaving a school where you were in the rotation and slated to be a starter. You left. Okay. Why? Maybe you went to the highest bidder. Maybe you went to a program you think is going to win the national title. Maybe you go to a school where you think you're going to make a difference. More power to you. That's how I feel about Bear Alexander. What are your thoughts on Michigan OSU matchup this season? Will OSU be able to stop the run? No, nobody's stopping Michigan's run. OSU can score. They're going to have to score and outscore them. There's no stopping the run. That's not happening. You're not stopping Michigan's run game. They have a great offensive line. They have 2 running backs they can rotate, a third if they need to. Ohio State has good running backs. Maybe they can run. We'll see. Rico, you're a real one for the Austin Simmons video today. Thank you, Josh Huffman. I've always been a real one before that video. I was a real one before that. Trust. Thoughts on Georgia Southern this year? Jacob Owens, they're going to be slanging that thing. All right, Georgia Southern lost their secondary, though. Let's be real. They lost their secondary in the transfer portal. But Clay Helton being a head coach, if you guys didn't know, Clay Helton, former USC head coach, is the head coach of Georgia Southern. He went to his brother Tyson Helton, the head coach at Western Kentucky, and he said, yo, Ty, how do I do that thing you're doing? How do I throw 5,000 yards? I just got Georgia Southern. We run a triple option. We run some other shit. How do I do what you do? He's like, well, first you got to get rid of that James Graham quarterback. You got to find somebody who can throw the rock. He's like, well, I got this guy Jared coming in from Buffalo. Well, get that guy, Jared Van Treese, and let's see what we can do. Dude, last year they were 5th in the country in passing. 5th in the nation. And they have Jalen White at running back, a really good running back. So Gerald Green leaves, right? Running back, Broderick Green, Gerald Green. Transfers to Eastern Kentucky. He's East Carolina. He's like, I'm out of here. It don't matter. They got Omari Arnold. They got O.J. Arnold as a backup running back. You guys got to see O.J. Arnold. He was at Brooks High School, 2-time in the state championship game twice. This guy's everything, man. I love this little guy. But Georgia Southern's going to throw the rock. Top 5 receiving. You're going to see just a ton of slanging that thing. That's why Davis Brin transferred. Starting quarterback at Tulsa just up and bounced and transferred to Georgia Southern to go be the starter over there. You leave Tulsa to go be the starting quarterback at Georgia Southern because you saw a guy who had only thrown for like 2,000 yards throw for like 4,000. You said, wow, if that guy can throw for 4,000, I need to get in that offense and throw for 4,000. So I'm excited for Georgia Southern. I think they're going to have a great offense. They just got a tough schedule. They're just in a tough division, tough conference, and I hope they do their best. That's how that goes. Oregon State does have a nice running back room, but their scheme will be their liability. It will, if you make any quarterback they have throw the ball, they're in trouble. If they ever trail, they're in trouble. Yeah, Al Green, they trailed by 14 points against Oregon in the second half, and they never threw the ball again, and they ran the ball every single play and ran over Oregon and won the game. That's what happened in the Civil War last year. They're not in trouble. Their scheme is legit. They have 3 running backs. All of them are about 6'2", 220. Damian Martinez, Jam Griffin, Deshaun Fenwick. These guys are all monsters. Nobody wants to tackle them. You guys, it's going to be fun to watch an Oregon State football game. You're going to turn it on and go, whoa, Rico is right. Look at this. They just keep handing the ball off, and they bring in a new guy and a new guy and a new guy. Even if they're trailing, they just bring in a new guy. Doesn't matter. And their redshirt freshman quarterback, Goberson, it's not even conceivable that they're going to be worse at quarterback than they were last year. They're going to be better this year at quarterback. The only thing they got to worry about is secondary. They lost 2 corners to the NFL. Only thing they got to worry about. Their best linebacker left for LSU. Okay, but they have a great defensive line, and I believe in their coaching staff. Oregon State's real. Dan Lanning, should have been fired as soon as that game was over for losing a game in a half-empty stadium. Al Green, it happens. You're facing a rival. Your rival beat the brakes off of you. Shout out to Washington and Washington State. Shout out to Arizona State. It's happened to everybody. Everybody loses to a rival every now and then. Thoughts on Penn State this year? Third best team in the Big Ten. That's my thoughts. What position do you like breaking down the most watching tape? So for me, Reese, I really like breaking down wide receiver and corners. I have the most experience with them. That's what I played in my entire life. And it's really hard to break down quarterback tape when you can't watch an all-22 film. It's hard to break down running back because you're just so much better than the other players on the team. I do like breaking down some offensive line and defensive line, but secondary's hard just because they're not always in the screen. And it's always the good plays, right? It's always the interceptions and the batted down passes. I want to see these guys when they're missing run tackles. And this is why when I do college film for the draft, I can go look up all their games and look at all the plays. But high school film, it's just a huddle tape of highlights. It's different. So I don't do highlights of NFL draft reviews. If you go back and look at my NFL draft playlist, and I have a whole NFL draft playlist with like 200 videos in there, go watch my film breakdown of every player. It's in their games. It's not their highlights because it's important to see what they're doing when they don't have the ball or, the play isn't going their way. Hot take, Florida can be a top 10 to 15 in 2024 with their incoming class. Chana Bolampali. If you think there is a team in the top 25 relying on recruits in the two deep, you're wrong. There's not a team in the top 25 relying on recruiting classes in their two deep. Nobody. It's not happening. So you're 100% wrong. 100% wrong. If you get a great recruiting class, cool. They're added depth to your team. They should not be seeing the field. There's no way they're better than the guys you have in front of them. There just shouldn't be. There might be one or two. Shout out to Caleb Downs. Shout out to certain individuals, Andy Jean, whoever, that can make the starting lineup. I got you. But if you got 30 guys from high school and they're better than the 22 you got on the field, we got a problem. You are not a top 25 team. You are not a top 25 team. And no, what you just said here is not real. Now, if you're saying recruiting, their recruiting class is going to be a top 10 or 15 recruiting class of 2024, that's feasible. There's still a lot more time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can get all those recruits in the door. They're going to hit the transfer portal. You're going to consider them a miss, and you're going to send 20 of them packing. Are you kidding me? Look at Auburn's recruiting class in 2021. 2021 Auburn recruiting class. Only 3 of those guys are still there on the team. 3. 3. Oregon, 10 guys from their 2021 class hit the transfer portal. It doesn't matter anymore. The players you recruit, that's fine. But if you miss some recruiting, you're going to make it up in the transfer portal. And even if you hit, somebody's going to leave. What's going to matter more moving forward, although recruiting classes do matter, don't get me wrong, is how well you recover from your misses in your recruiting classes, i.e. your transfer portal class. Your transfer portal class is going to become so essential to actually being successful. And the case study for this is Florida State. Florida State's every single player on their team is a transfer. Every single starter, significant starter, transfer at Florida State. And they're poised to be a top 10 team. Okay? Every single player. Now, I'm not talking about Colorado rebuilding. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Arizona State rebuilding. No, I'm talking about a team in the top 10 where every significant starter is a transfer. From quarterback, running back, receivers, defensive ends, linebackers, safeties, everybody's a transfer. That's the recipe for success moving forward if you can foster it, if you can harness it. Now, you still need recruiting classes because that's where you develop your players, right? But you're going to become a feeder program to other schools. You're developing players for other schools because they're going to transfer if they're not in your starting lineup. But no, not top 10, top 15. Morantz. What about Morantz? Aster Vosnes. What about him? His name is Morantz. That's not me. It's my twin brother. Stop asking me about Morantz. I can't stand that shit. Cormani, Hunter, and Shador are future Heisman candidates. Shiloh, Trevor Woods, and Travis J. the best safety group in the Pac-12. At some point, they're going to be ranked. Jesse, I think you just write stuff. None of this is true. First and foremost, you can't be a future Heisman candidate unless your team is one of the playoff teams, unless your team is winning more than 10 games. So that's number one. Shedeur only has 2 seasons left. So it'd either be this year or next year. It's definitely not this year. So it'd have to be the following year. Okay? I don't understand where you have Cormani. Like, how do you have Cormani a Heisman candidate? What are you talking about? It's just a 5-star corner. There's 5 of those on the bench at Alabama. You guys got to slow down with what you're saying. It just doesn't work that way. A corner to be a Heisman? You think he's Charles Woodson? You think he's returning punts for touchdowns against? I don't know what we're doing. Jamonte Waller to Florida. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Who's the top true freshman quarterback starter this year? James Campos. I got nothing for you. I have no idea. I don't think there's a top true freshman quarterback. If there's a true freshman starting quarterback this year, your team isn't very good. Your quarterbacks weren't good. But I'll give you an answer next time I see you. Pump the brakes. None of those players are winning the Heisman. They're definitely making bowl game for sure. What up, Blunt? There you go. Brennan Armstrong will be benched after UConn beats NC State. There you go. Shout out to Colin. Thoughts on transfer Jalen Catalon from Texas, Arkansas. So he's not from Texas. He's from Arkansas to Texas, right? So he's injury prone. Jalen's a good football player, but he's injury prone. So hopefully he can stay healthy. He didn't play in the spring, I don't think. He was still injured. He's still recovering from an injury, so those are my thoughts on him. Okay? You think the Terps will take the step forward this year with Tua returning? Yeah, I think they're one of the 4th or 5th best teams in the Big Ten. So that's the step forward you're talking about, then congrats. But that's where they're about at. Their ceiling is the 4th or 5th best team in the Big Ten. Their floor is behind Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa. They have the potential to be the 8th best team or the 4th best. I like Maryland. What? I don't know what you wrote. What? Tallulah, you mean? Wow. How will Joe Milton be? How will he be? He'll be putting up a bunch of stats. It's Tennessee. They run a great wide open offense. Shout out to Josh Heupel. So Nico starts by the end of the year. Only if you think Joe Milton is a scrub. Only if you think Joe Milton's a scrub, Nico starts by the end of the year. That's how that works. Okay? If you think Joe Milton's an NFL quarterback, then Nico redshirts the whole year. Plays in 4 games and redshirts. Just like Justin Fields did, just like Mac Jones, Bryce Young, not Mac Jones, but Bryce Young because of Mac Jones. All the 5-star guys had to do this because there was a starter in front of them that went to the NFL. So it's the same concept. Xavier Worthy supposedly played half the season with a broken hand. All right. Well, that's cool. Hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he tells them. Finally, someone's saying something about Bo Jackson. They trying to put him in the same category as legendary. No, and no again. That man never touched the 1,000, bro. What are your thoughts on FSU receiving room? Do you think it's a top 10 receiving room? Definitely in the conversation, Cameron Hayes. I'd really have to look at it closely. I don't like to give random answers like that. There are other receiver rooms that I highly respect: Ohio State, Washington, Louisville, USC. Those are 4 that come to mind right away for receiver rooms. But Florida State, Johnny Wilson, just got Keon Coleman. I mean, it's hard to argue that, right? Getting Jaheim Bell from South Carolina at your tight end spot. I don't like the kid from Shorter. I'm going to tell you right now. Kyle, not good. But Ole Miss has a hell of a wide receiver room. Okay? Ole Miss does. So there's teams out there with great wide receiver rooms. You just got to slow down and kind of chop it up. What do I think of Tennessee this season, Rico? They got a great offense. They got a great team. They got a great coach. Good luck. Is this where we ask the questions? This is where you ask the questions, Ice. You just stay patient. I'll get to you and when I get to you. If there was one defunct football program you could bring back, and what conference would you put them in? I would bring back Idaho. Idaho went down to the FCS. I would bring them back to the FBS, and I'd put them in the Mountain West. I liked Idaho. I'm cool with Idaho. I like obscure teams like that. I bring back Idaho. Hey, Rico, do you watch F1? No, Funny Town, not really. I mean, I'm aware of it. I know what's going on. But once the points race gets out of hand, I don't watch it anymore. I don't really pay attention to it anymore, I should say. But I read the results. I'm fascinated by the results. Absolutely agree. Florida dodged a bullet, it seems like. Yes. Excuse me. Chat jumped on me. And Miami, I'll put them in the SEC conference. Georgia Tech used to be an SEC. Which Oregon transfer is going to impact Oregon the most? One of their receivers. Could be Tez. Could it be Bo Nix's brother? That could be a thing. It could be Trayshawn Holden. Let's go with Trayshawn Holden. Wide receiver from Alabama. 6 touchdowns last year on Alabama. Transferred to Oregon. Let's go with Holden. Holden, Barnett. They had 3 wide receiver transfers that are studs. Thoughts on Oregon State University football? They might make some noise this year. Yep. I've talked about them many times over, Noe. I believe in them. So, Texas is favored in every game except Alabama. Does a one-loss Big 12 champion go to the playoffs? Yeah, they go to the playoffs. And more importantly, I think Texas beats Alabama. They might still lose a game, but I think they beat Alabama. Miami Glory Days were one of the best played football. Miami nowadays is a journeyman team devoid of its glory days, 100%. I don't understand some SEC fans that are so annoying. I don't understand them because they don't have teeth. Anyone transferring to USC is going to be for bags. They are paying like crazy. So is Cal. He hit that, has them doing well, 9 to 10 wins maybe. Slap Happy, thank you for the money. Pays for my drinks tonight, y'all. Pays for my Dr. Pepper. Yo, Rico, Skip Bayless needs a +1. I'm aware. Tell him to bring it. What website you use to watch film? I use ESPN Plus. I use when the games are on demand. I use school websites. I use local news websites. And I use YouTube. But for the most part, when you want to watch film on websites, right, you have to be careful. What are you trying to see? Oftentimes, I'm trying to see an FBS level game. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. You can find them. It's when I'm trying to dig in the transfer portal and find film on an FCS guy or a Division II guy I've never heard of, and I'm trying to see film, and I only get highlights. That's when it sucks. But I really want to watch full game film, and they're everywhere. During the football season, ESPN has all the games on demand. Like, they're just there on ESPN Plus. You go back and watch them all. So I literally watch as many games as I can on Saturday, and then I pick a conference every day of the week, and I pick 2 conferences, really. One before lunch, one after lunch, and I watch all the games I can. So I'll have 2 games going at once, watch them at 1.5 speed, skip commercials, skip timeouts, and I can watch a game in about an hour. And so that's what I do. I watch all the games, try to take notes, see what's happening with my transfers, my predictions, and make content, right? Because I'm a content creator. So that's what I try to do with the football season. And I do this all week long. And so I try not – so that's why I don't watch NFL games on Sundays, because I'm watching more college games. So I'm watching all the FBS games, usually about 65 to 70 games a week. And then on Friday night, I watch high school football. I stop, I take a break, I watch high school football. But that's what I do every single day. So that's how that goes. I'm excited to see Colorado fan base fired up for their team. Think this is great for college football. Yeah, it is, Steve. It's pretty cool. Hey, Rico, how do you think Colorado State's going to do this year? My high school team just got there. My high school team just got there. Your high school team, high school teammate? So I like Colorado State. I like Jay Norvell's the head coach. He flipped the roster, changed the culture, had to get a bunch of guys out of there. He got 33 recruits this year out of high school, so he signed a big recruiting class. I like Colorado State. They got their work cut out. They got a lot of rebuilding to do. They got to change the culture, but I like them. I'm excited for them. They did well in the transfer portal, comparatively. Like, compared to the other teams in the Mountain West, they did well. So, yeah, I like them. Hit the thumbs up button. Thanks, guys. Speaking of Shiloh Sanders, is he officially at Colorado? Robert Lopez, yes, he's at Colorado. I know 24/7 doesn't know, so I'm asking Rico. Yeah, Robert Lopez, 24/7's website is never up to date. None of them are. I am. He's at practice. He's doing well. He's playing well. He's a good player. Yeah, Shiloh Sanders committed a while ago. He's been training. Yep. Have you heard the Detroit Catholic Central in regards to football? So, yeah, I mean, I know who football teams are across the country. I'll watch players from certain schools, but I don't know Detroit Catholic Central's, like, history or their record last season. But, I mean, I know who high schools are. I know where they're at and where they're from. Who do you think wins the Pac-12? If I had to go today, I'm going to say USC, but there's about 4 teams that could win the Pac-12 next year. You think Jaden Daniels could win the Heisman? I think he'd have to up his statistics and they'd have to go undefeated. But yeah, he could. He could. There's no reason he can't. Did Ole Miss improve and Mississippi State regress or vice versa? So, number one, Ole Miss theoretically improved. They dominated the transfer portal. They brought in a ton of competition at every position. They got better. Ole Miss got better, theoretically. Now they got to go out and do it, right? Mississippi State definitely regressed. They lost their head coach. He passed away. R.I.P. Mike Leach. A lot of guys hit the portal, and they lost Forbes at corner. So Mississippi State regressed. Ole Miss improved. That's how I feel about the two. I would bring back Wichita State. Had some competitive teams. Plane crash crippled them. No pun intended. Don't do that. Some guys made it out. No, never mind. How much wins do you think ECU gets? Not a lot. Not a lot. Cinnamon Toast Crunch butter. Better. They're going to have a down year. You lost a 4-year starter at quarterback. You lost Keaton Mitchell at running back. You lost two 1,000 wide receivers, 1,000-yard wide receivers, C.J. Johnson and Winstead. Like, it's just not good. It's not good for ECU. The cupboard's bare. And the replacements they got were kind of substandard to me. They weren't nearly on that level. Could you explain why that 2014 TCU team didn't get into the playoffs? Not at all, Connor. It's a crime. It's a crime. If anybody knows, they did not respect, they sold a lie. The 2014 TCU team is the greatest team to never make the playoffs and one of the best teams to not win a national title ever. And it's a damn shame. Boykin was the quarterback, but this TCU team here, they had one loss. They beat the ever-living snot out of Ole Miss. But when you see a team, look at this murderer's row. They went against number 4 Oklahoma, 5 Baylor, 15 Oklahoma State, 20 West Virginia, 7 K-State. Look at this right here. This is 6 weeks of an incredible gauntlet, and they lost one game to Baylor by 3? It's ridiculous. And they won 8. They scored 82 points in one game. This TCU team was so remarkable. They had to go out and win with style points, and that's why they beat a top 10 team in Ole Miss. They beat 1, 2, 3, 4 top 10 teams that year. Final poll, they finished third, ahead of other teams that made the playoffs. But what do you do? What do you do? They put in Ohio State. They ignored these guys. This was the team. And this is because you're not an ESPN team. You're not televised on ESPN. That's what it's about. They weren't respected because they're a Fox network. That's one of the greatest teams of all time, man. That did not go. Look at Boykin, just killing it every single week. Boykin, every single week. It was incredible. Great team. One of the best teams in recent memory that just did not get respected on any level. I can't believe it. I really can't. Shout out to you for asking. How long till the Ville competes for an ACC championship? Owen Robinson, it's going to take at least 2 years. At least 2 years. It'll be a while. Clemson's really, they're entrenched, and so is Florida State at this point. So they got to fend off Miami, and Miami took 2 transfers. Louisville's just got to keep doing their thing. They're going to put up a ton of stats. Shout out to Jeff Brom. I really believe in them. If Anthony Richardson busted in the NFL, the AD getting fired. The AD? You mean the GM? The guy who drafted him? Yeah, he's getting fired. Are you high on C.J. Williams, and do you think he'll succeed at Wisconsin? I'm extremely high on C.J. Williams. I think he's an incredible wide receiver at USC. Never got to see the field. He's a good locker room kid. I like everything about C.J. Williams. I think he succeeds at Wisconsin, and I think he's a future NFL football player. When talking to other football fans, are there any clues that tell you they're knowledgeable or casual bias? Oh, yeah. Yeah, David. Anytime they mention how many national titles the SEC has won, if they mention the best footballs in the South, if they talk like that, I don't ever want to talk to them. The indicators that somebody knows what's going on is when they talk about a player that's kind of off the national radar, not ever talked about on ESPN. Sometimes I'll get a question like, hey, Rico, what do you think about this guy? And it'll be somebody that only he and I know, right? We're in a room of 100 football fans between the 2 live streams here, and every now and then somebody will just write and just go, hey, Rico, what do you think about this guy, blah, blah, blah? And it'll be like, who? And everybody else has no clue who we're talking about. I get super excited, right? I'm like, oh my God, you're talking about so and so. So that's when I know they're not casual. And but biased fans, remember the word fan is derived from the word fanatic. So they are fanatical about their team, specifically about their team. And I have to sit here and be fanatical about 133 teams, right? I get questions about every team in the country. I cannot sit here and be like, oh, I don't know. After a while, that gets a little old. You got to make sure you know. Got to make sure you know. And knowing is the hard part, right? Knowing is the hard part. Articulating it to you guys is the easy part for me, where there could be the inverse for some other people. They know a lot, but they can't get it out properly. They just talk monotone or they're boring. When I'm having a conversation with somebody who knows a lot about the sport, I can tell, and maybe they can't communicate it clearly. That's okay. I don't judge them for it. But the inverse, if there's somebody who's just talking a mile a minute about their favorite team, and they're trying to convince me that the third-string running back at Georgia is an NFL football player, I just can't stand you. Get away from me. You talk clearly. I got it. Get away from me. I always tell them that. You're uninformed. Please stop. And they don't. And they don't stop. What's the most remarkable thing? They don't stop. When I say you're uninformed, please stop. They don't. It irks me. And they just continue to spew out more uninformed nonsense. What do you think is the best FCS conference? Well, I mean, North Dakota State, South Dakota. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You want me to say Big Sky? What are we doing? This is not a real question, young chubby. Which non-conference game you most looking forward to? I don't have one identified, Jack Brennan, most looking forward to non-conference game. It's easy to go right there at the beginning, LSU, Florida State, but I'm sure there's others I'm most looking forward to. I'm sure I'm excited about Colorado TCU just as much. I really like Colorado TCU. That's an exciting game for me because I want to watch Colorado win that game, and then I'll just sit back and relax. I want to watch Colorado cover the spread. Best quarterback in the country, JT Daniels. Get out of here. Shout out to Morant's Rants, my twin brother. Why would the AD get fired if Richardson get fed? Stop it. USC Pac-12, huh? Yeah. USC is still at Pac-12 until next season. Move to Big Ten. Correct. So how many wins, ECU? Cinnamon Toast Crunch Butter, man. I just told you not a lot. I don't want to go in there and drag them. Not a lot. Thoughts on Minnesota Gophers? I like them. They're fighting for the fourth best team in the Big Ten. I like them. They got new running back in Sean Tyler, transfer from Western Michigan. They got new quarterback in Athan. They got new wide receivers in Crooms from Western Michigan. They got it all, man. I'm pulling for them. It's an uphill battle. They're in a tough conference. I know USC and Northwestern are private schools going to Big Ten, but Michigan is winning. USC will lose this year. Give me Oregon State. Okay. How many wins? And I don't know what's going on. How many wins is Kentucky getting this year? Jesser Laser, I like them. I say 8 to 9 wins. How do you feel about Arizona high school's football? I think we're underrated for high school sports. Funny town. So not necessarily underrated. The problem is there's only high schools in Phoenix and Tucson. There's not a bunch of cities. There's so much empty space in Arizona. Arizona is just two metropolis areas. Like, have you ever looked at a map of California and Southern California? The amount of high schools is insane. Texas, there's just huge metropolitan areas filled with high schools. You get to Arizona, it's just two different spots. And Tucson doesn't have great high school football. Right? They don't. Phoenix does, and they're respected. Their perennial powers are respected completely. Now, the players need to go out and perform well at the next level, but no, Arizona's just got one city with a lot of people in it, and then outside of that, what are we talking about? I'm being real. You can't go to Yuma. There's no high school teams in Yuma. Can't go to Sierra Vista. There's nothing out there. It's just Tucson and Phoenix. Really. Nebraska versus Colorado week 2 is going to be fire. Coaching should be the difference. Matt Rule, Deion Sanders. What's your thoughts on the matchup? My thoughts on the matchup are the coaches don't make that much of a difference. The talent, college football, the talent makes all the difference in college football. It really does. 90% of the time, you're going to win if you have the better team. Coaching will matter when the teams are equivalent. So do I think Colorado's better than Nebraska right now? It's a very good question. I think what you need to remember is Colorado has a great offensive coordinator in Sean Lewis. Sean Lewis's offense is going to break teams in half. he's going to have 30 seconds to play. 30 seconds to play. That's why they have so many damn players. That's why Colorado got so many players in the rotation. They're going to be rotating in and breaking you off with their depth, and nobody sees it coming. It's going to be a problem. They're going to have one of the fastest offenses in the country, and I'm not talking about speed. I'm talking about in running plays. Now, you could either punt really fast or you can churn out some numbers and get some people tired. We'll figure it out. Does Jimbo get fired this season? Not if he wins. It's not Matt Rule against Dion. It's Matt Rule versus Sean Lewis. Oh, my goodness. Chris E. Chris E. knows where I'm going, bruh. I didn't even know he wrote that. Oh. Thoughts on Florida football? Florida Gators? Keep working. Michigan just signed Devin Baxter. Do you have an opinion? What do you mean just signed? What do you mean just signed? What do you mean by that, Elric? Just signed. Matt Rule hasn't shown anything different to show he will show Coach Dion and Sean Lewis. Thanks, Rico, for the shine you gave to Mikhail Lee. He is truly a hard worker and a great kid. It's crazy that I subscribed to you just 2 months ago. Much love, grinding, my guy. Thank you, Coach Hunter. I didn't know that, man. I appreciate you. We're here to do this, man. We're a movement, and we need everybody. Out, Coach. Got it. Now I know what you're saying. Chris Paul found out form Rico doesn't know again. Oh, from. Oh, did I write this in the chat up here? From his son? From versus form? It's not that I don't know. I didn't know what you guys were asking. I have a typo. You think I don't know the words? This is bananas, bro. Somebody just point it out and just say, hey, you misspelled it. Talk to me in English. Don't communicate with me like an ape. What do you think about Cutter Boley, four-star Kentucky quarterback commit? So not much. I don't think much about any recruits. They haven't played it down in college football, and they're going to transfer if they don't get started, if they don't get in the too deep. So I don't get too worried about it. I agree with you. You're the GOAT. Florida 9+ wins with any quarterback play. What? What is your thoughts on the hiring of Joe Philbin as is that OSIU offensive coordinator? What is OSIU? What is OSIU? Office of Special Investigators University? Thoughts on Raymond Collins? Nah. Nothing. You guys are asking about players like I just don't think about them. I don't know what else to say. I just don't think about them. Do you think Quinn Ewers will be a top 5 draft pick this season? Joseph, I have no idea who's drafting in the top 5. I don't know if those teams need quarterbacks. There's no reason to guess at whether or not someone's going to be a top 5 draft pick if you don't know the team's drafting. Do you get what I'm saying? That just doesn't make sense. You guys got to stop with all the prediction shit. I can't be wrong. I can't afford to be wrong on my channel. So if you guys ask me a question like that, and I go, yes, he's top 5. What the hell am I saying? It gets recorded, and then somebody clips it, and 5 months later, oh, Rico didn't know. Rico doesn't know shit. Rico doesn't know. I can't do that. I can't lose my credibility. So, no, I'm not stabbing in the wind. Now, when I see the draft order, and I see what teams need quarterbacks, and then I go and see how he performed this season, because I do care how they play in their final year. I'm not doing mock drafts before the damn senior year. All these mock drafts are being printed out before the damn college football season. How are we okay with this? The college football season hasn't even played yet. What if Quinn Ewers goes out and throws 20 interceptions? And Rico said he's a top 5 draft pick. I don't make draft predictions until I see the draft order and I see how they played in their final season. This is why I never saw Jackson Smith and Jigba as a top first rounder or anything. Never felt good about Will Levis at all. They said Will Levis was a first rounder before the season. Go watch the broadcast. Go watch the film. Turn on the tape. Every single TV broadcast, third game of the season, playing Florida. In the pregame, they're like, look at these potential first-round draft picks. Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. These guys are going at the top of the draft. They're the only guys we're tanking for. That girl on ESPN, Erin D or something, Dinich or something, I don't even know her name. She said the guys we're tanking for in the NFL. Tank. And so you can draft Will Levis, Bryce Young, and Stroud. That's what she said. Heather Dennett. And no one's holding her to it. No one's saying a thing except for me. When I said, hey, guys, I watched the film on Will Levis this season, and I don't know why anybody's saying he's a first-round draft pick. I wouldn't draft this guy ever. Like, I wouldn't draft him. I would draft Sean Clifford before him because I know Sean Clifford beat him out. And everybody's going, oh, Rico, you don't know what you're talking about. He drops to the second round. I know what I'm talking about. It's that they anoint people before the season. So you asking me, is Quinn Ewers a top 5? I ain't mad at you, Joseph. I'm just saying, how can I go there without seeing him play? What if he throws a pick in every game? Definitely not top 5. Ash is growling because she's pissed about it. Just being real. Who wins the American? Wait. This might go a little bit back, but can you talk about Charlie Ward and if you think he picked the wrong sport, if you're familiar? So Charlie Ward, if you guys don't know, Charlie Ward won the Heisman. I've been over this a few times. Charlie Ward won the Heisman in 93 at Florida State. And at that point, there was a stigma against black quarterbacks. Yes, it's valid. But more importantly, there was a stigma against Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. So at that point, since 1980, there had been 4 quarterbacks that won the Heisman. Okay? 82, 12th round draft pick, Doug Flutie. Not respected. You won the Heisman, you still didn't get drafted. He was small. He was short. You want to talk about a stigma against quarterbacks? Short quarterbacks used to never get drafted. And then in 89, Andre Ware gets drafted 8th overall to the Lions. Total flop. So from that point on, they said these high productivity quarterbacks who put up a ton of stats are not going to be good. David Klingler flops, right? And he wasn't a Heisman Trophy winner, but he flopped also coming out of Houston. So then comes the next Heisman Trophy winner, Ty Detmer, 1990. 9th round. They draft him in the 9th round. No respect for a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Then 1992 happens. Gino Torretta out of Miami. Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Gets drafted in the 7th round. No respect for a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Then Charlie Ward comes out, and they tell Charlie Ward, hey, we gave you a draft grade. You're a 3rd round draft pick. The grade is your 3rd round. You're predicted to go in the 3rd round. And he said, I'm not going to the 3rd round. I refuse. I'm not playing. I will not. Don't draft me. I'm not playing. I'm going to go play in the NBA. And he went and played in the NBA. And he had a long career in the NBA. Refused to play in the NFL. Went undrafted. He refused. The teams didn't refuse to draft him. And the narrative nowadays, oh, he didn't get drafted because he's black. Nobody wanted him because he's black. No. He said, don't draft me if I'm not a first rounder. The NFL teams weren't playing with you. They didn't want you. You're not a first rounder. 2 years later, they took Steve McNair 3rd overall. They wanted athletic quarterbacks. They wanted dual threat quarterbacks. As a matter of fact, 1994, after the draft, a year later, the Chiefs called and said, hey, would you like to be Joe Montana's backup? He's getting ready to retire, and we'll let you be the starter after you're the backup for 1 year. And he turned him down to play in the NBA. Did he make the right decision? Sure. He made the right decision by playing in the NBA. Sure. That's all I'll say. Sure. Stick to your guns. Because then now you can go through life saying they didn't want me because I was black. And it's not true. They didn't want you because they didn't respect Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. And if you don't believe me, after Charlie Ward, who was the next Heisman Trophy winning quarterback they didn't respect? Danny Warfel. After that, Eric Crouch. After that, Chris Winkie. Jason White. None of these guys were getting respected until Carson Palmer, 2003. Carson Palmer wins the Heisman, 1st overall pick. Like, that's when they finally believed in a Heisman Trophy. And this is in the history of college football. The first Heisman Trophy winning quarterback that was respected and a possible professional was Carson Palmer. It's not like today where the Heisman Trophy winner is the first pick overall and everybody, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield. No, it's not like that. It wasn't like that in the 90s or 80s. So that's what happened with Charlie Ward. People got to study this stuff. And I didn't know that question was coming. I'm prepared to answer it every night. Rico knows. I'm a damn almanac. Who wins the American? I'm going to go with UTSA. Now, everybody's going to tell you Tulane. I think Tulane losing Tajay Spears is a big deal. I think I'm losing Jaden Kennedy at corner is a big deal. I have a feeling that the American's going to be highly competitive. Shout out to Memphis. Shout out to, I don't know. I don't want to miss anyone. SMU. But for me, I like UTSA. San Antonio, Frank Harris, Barnes at running back. Like, they got a real team. And I know they lost their star wide receiver. I know they lost Franklin. But, man, I just can't get over Frank Harris being that good. Pratt's real, though. Tulane's got Pratt at quarterback. He's real. So that's who I think wins the American. Apologize. Just jumped on me right here. Now that Deion is gone, JSU is back to regular scheduled programming, a middle-of-the-pack, lower-tier SWAC school. I think they'll be the second-best SWAC school next year. I have Florida A&M winning the SWAC. So Florida A&M is going to win the SWAC. I have them hopefully trying to beat South Florida. But Florida A&M looks loaded. They had a great transfer portal class. They look loaded for next year. And after that stomping they took last year from Jackson State, they actually played really good the rest of the way. Is Ohio State number 1 when they go to South Bend in 1923? Are they number 1? What the hell are you talking about, Jack Brennan? That sounds absurd. Thanks for educating kids. No problem. I'm excited on what CU will do this season. Okay, so am I. I know you said that talent wins 90% of games in football, which is true, but what do you think of the percentage in basketball? Because I feel like it's much lower. It's definitely much lower in basketball. Much lower. I don't know what it is, but it's not like football. Football, like Georgia could play TCU 10 out of 10 times and win every single time because their team was better. They were just better. This is why Alabama and Georgia win games. They just have better players. It's not the coaching. It's just better players, straight up. Now there's cases when it's not like that, right? Shout out to A&M. But for the most part, if you have a more talented team, you just win the game. That's how it is in college football. That's why there's so many blowouts in the playoffs. That's why the initial matchups in the playoffs are going to be extreme blowouts. You're going to lose by 30, 40 points because you're K-State and you're overachieving with 3-star athletes. You still don't have 4- and 5-star athletes. You're just overachieving. Until the transfer portal bridges that gap, you don't make it, right? You just don't bridge that gap. Transfer portal can bridge it. Coaching cannot. And you can be a hell of a coach. Shout out to Chris Kleiman at K-State. You won't close it. You don't have the players. Coaching matters a lot more in basketball, I feel. Yep. So what about North Carolina versus South Carolina? Give me South Carolina this year. I like the Gamecocks over them. I tried to tell you about a Form V. Oh, Form V versus From. Yeah, but you didn't say it clearly. Thought you might have done it intentionally. No, I did not. Spurs picking Wimpy, but it's likely he won't have the best career in that draft. They're telling me he's going to have a better career than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because these people never saw Kareem play. They don't know what they're talking about. What do you think about Antoine Jackson? Nothing really. I appreciate your questions, man. You're very Group of 5 heavy. Shout out to you, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. This guy's an East Carolina fan all day. Would it be smarter to be an FCS star or a decent FBS player? Well, young Chubby, it all depends. Where are you the FBS player at? Because a decent FBS player doesn't get drafted like you would imagine, especially if you're in the Group of 5. But a superstar at the FCS gets drafted. Shout out to like Marty Mapow, gets drafted in the 3rd round to the Patriots. He's a stud. But the vast majority of FCS All-Americans this year transferred to the FBS. They transferred to the Power 5. But they're not planning to be a decent FBS player. Let me make this clear. A decent FBS player is not an FCS star. You hear me? Let me say that again. A decent FBS player is not an FCS star. FCS stars are NFL caliber. FCS stars, the All-Americans on the FCS list, can play anywhere in the FBS and be stars. They're equivalent. FCS All-Americans are equivalent. They're just as good. They can play anywhere. They're that good. That's why they're getting drafted. That's why if I go look at the transfer portal, all the FCS All-Americans transferred to Power 5 schools this year. They didn't transfer to Charlotte and ULM and hope they make it at the FBS level like this. They didn't transfer to a school to hope to be okay. No, they went straight to Alabama. Like they went straight to, well, I'm not going to say Alabama, but they definitely went to North Carolina, Texas Tech, Oregon, Arizona State. They went to Power 5 schools in the FBS, not just an average FBS player. So don't get it twisted. FCS stars are NFL caliber players. They really are. Who starts at quarterback for Bowling Green this year? Tyler Peacock. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I looked at their team. I've looked at their team before. And the reason I looked is they got murdered in the transfer portal. Camden North's still there. So Camden North is probably going to start, right? This is an FCS kid. Camden North coming out of Long Island. He was okay. Not good. But give me yours. See what happens. Thoughts on Storm Duck and Cam Kelly? The DB pair transfer from North Carolina, transfer to Louisville. So if you guys don't know, they flipped. Cam Kelly was going to Virginia, I think, and Storm Duck was going to Penn State. They went there for a couple months, and then they called each other and said, yo, bro, let's both go to Louisville. They're at Louisville. They're at Louisville with Marquise Groves-Killebrew, transfer from A&M. I like everybody at Louisville. I like every single Louisville transfer. It just looks like it's great. It's who's who. So I hope they play great. They're going to score a lot of points. These guys are going to be on the field a lot because their defense is going to be out there. Their offense is going to score like crazy. Louisville's offense is going to put up 40 points a game. Something insane like that. It's the Purdue offense from last year. It's going to put up 5,000 passing yards. Shout out to Jack Plummer. So the DBs will be on the field. Now, how good is Storm Duck and Cam Kelly? They've been getting coached by Dre Bly for the last couple years. Hopefully Dre taught them something. They got beat a lot at North Carolina, though. LSU will be in the playoffs. Shout out to you, Darren Jennings. It's a bold statement. Would you move on from K1 if you were the Cardinals? Personally, I would. But it's a debate, my friend, and I've had. Is K1 a player's name? Or is that Kyler Murray? Are you talking about K1 is Kyler Murray? Is that what he's called? I don't even know what he's called. The Cardinals are moving on from Kyler Murray. They're not extending that dude. They're not paying. They're preparing for life without Kyler Murray for sure. They've made the worst quarterback drafts. They took Josh Rosen in the first round, and the very next year they took Kyler Murray. I hope we're talking about Kyler Murray. Ugh. But how can you say Levis is bad when the NFL season hasn't been played yet? Jesser Laser, I watch a lot of film, like more than anybody. I'm serious, more than NFL scouts. I don't know what they do with their lives, but I sit here and watch film all day and night. I evaluate players all day. And when I evaluate Levis, I don't see a very good football player. If we had to have tryouts tomorrow, regardless of draft position, if we just had tryouts, Will Levis is not making the team. Let me explain this again. Will Levis will be a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he will be on the team because of his draft position. That's what has him on the team. But if Will Levis was drafted in the 7th round and had to earn his spot on the roster, he couldn't do it. Because there's not a quarterback in the NFL Will Levis can beat out in a competition. So please understand what I'm saying. He couldn't beat out Sean Clifford. Got it. But when he transferred to Kentucky, he proved nothing. Nothing. If you can't beat out a starter at your old school, you go to the new school and you prove to the old school you made a mistake. Shout out to Joe Burrow. Right? So Joey B does that. He couldn't start at Ohio State. He goes down to LSU and proves to the world, I'm a real player. Will Levis didn't do that. Shout out to Hendon Hooker. Virginia Tech goes down, I'm a real player. Joe Milton, I'm a real player. Devin Leary, these guys are going to have great seasons. Guess who didn't? Guess who's not good? And you can tell me Will Levis isn't good because of his offensive coordinator. Then I ask you this. When I watched the tape, they told me all the skills and traits he had, all the pro traits he had. He has a good processor, a good motor, and a good this. I said, I watched the tape, and he's getting sacked. And they go, well, yeah, his offensive line sucked. And I'm like, well, if his offensive line's so bad that he's getting sacked every play, then how the hell did you observe his motor and progression reads and all his traits and abilities? How did you observe it if it's not on display? If it's not in the game, where did you come up with this narrative? Where is this shit? Some nonsense his agent's selling people in the media to say? I think everybody's on the take and just saying things about the kid that aren't warranted. Nothing he ever did on the field is any good. His greatest game ever was a loss the previous year. He did nothing last season to warrant getting drafted at all. You want to talk about a quarterback who got sacked even more than him? Jaden Daniels got sacked more than Will Levis and didn't throw nearly as many terrible passes. Jaden Daniels just took the sacks, dusted off, and went back at it. Better pro prospect. More mature, better decision-making, better processor. But Will Levis looks like your father's quarterback. He's the right size. He's the right metrics. He's prototypical. He has the right quote-unquote intangibles. You know why they use the term intangibles? Because they don't need to explain anything. They can just say he's got the it factor. He's got intangibles. They don't have to explain shit. They can just say that and then move on. You have to buy that. You have to buy into that. It's absurd. I watched the film. He's not a good player. Now, can he be coached? Oh, great. Okay, cool. Is he better than Tannehill? I don't think so. Maybe. Tannehill's old and not good. But I don't think so. This guy, if we had tryouts tomorrow with no shirts on and no draft position and contract to think about, he couldn't beat anybody in the quarterback competition. Shout out to Sean Clifford. Sean Clifford was in this draft and beat Will Levis out every single day, won a Rose Bowl, and looked better every day of his life than Will Levis. I would take Sean Clifford right now over Will Levis. And yes, I make conclusions about players by inferring. Do you know what inferring means? Inferring means you come to a conclusion without a bona fide specified statement, fact, or proof. Right? So you can put all this together, and then you can infer this happened, right? You come into the house, all the cookies are gone, and only your kids are home. You can infer the kids ate the cookies. They don't have to say they ate them. You can figure that out just by saying you were home, you had opportunity, you're not hungry, and all the cookies are missing. Same concept. I come to conclusions without bona fide statements. I infer it. Okay. Thoughts on Syracuse football? They're in trouble. I think they're going to fire their coach soon. They're in trouble. I wish Charlie Ward and Randall Cunningham played in this era. Randall wasn't that great, but yeah, he was fun to watch. What are your thoughts on Joe Philbin as OSU's offensive coordinator? I think he has a lot of weapons. And he utilizes them well. Morant's really. He is now at Rice. Oh, you're talking about JT Daniels? Morantz is my twin brother. Don't take anything he says seriously. He's just trying to get a rise out of me. He's trying to troll you guys. Don't go there. Barring injury. How do you feel about Harold Perkins? Harold Perkins in the top two players in the SEC returning next year. That's a hot take. I play at Towson, and I have Power 5 friends who put up average or below numbers and believe they would have come to the CAA, FCS, and be a superstar. Yeah, they can all think that. I don't buy it. I see guys transfer. I study the transfer portal. I see players transfer down to the FCS all the time from Power 5 schools. They don't dominate. They're not All-Americans. They're not ripping it off the charts. Not often. And then I see the inverse. Like Byshol Tutton just rushed for 1,400 yards at North Carolina A&T, and he just transferred to Virginia Tech. He'll be the starting running back at Virginia Tech. He just took a starting running back position as an All-American, and now he's the starting running back at a Power 5 school. Cameron Scadaboo was the superstar running back at Sacramento State last year, starting running back, and he just rushed for, 1,200 yards? Just transferred to Arizona State. He'll be the starting running back there. There's levels to this. Shout out to Marty Mappow. Shout out to Cody Mock. Yeah. What do you think? Shout out to Joe Flacco. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Bailey Zappi. Bailey Zappi was a star at Houston Baptist, transfers to Western Kentucky, throws for almost 6,000 yards. What do you think about the new teams coming in the American? So the new teams coming in the American, only UTSA I think is noteworthy. The rest of them are just happy to be in there, leaving Conference USA, moving over, filling a void left by UCF, Cincinnati. When you lose UCF and Cincinnati from your conference and Houston, those are three really, really good schools. If you think about it, Cincy, UCF, these are teams that went undefeated, got you into group of six or New Year's Bowls, got your conference a ton of money compared to the Sun Belt and Conference USA and the MAC. Like, these guys did it. You made the American the premier conference in the group of 5 ahead of the Mountain West. And how did you do it? With Cincinnati going undefeated, UCF going undefeated, beating Auburn, Houston being viable. Like, They just lost 3 amazing teams, and they had to backfill it. And what they backfill it with? Charlotte? South Florida? Who's the backfills? Like, who's going to replace them? Who's going to take their spot? It's not the same. So American getting UTSA was a huge deal. That's a team that's in the top 25. That's a team with star power, great recruiting grounds. They can have a rivalry with SMU until SMU leaves, right? Everybody's jumping ship. The American will look very different 3 years from now. Kyler Murray. Okay, yeah. He's gone. Really feel like I'm a top quarterback in the nation. Just decided to not transfer and to stay at D2. Byron Jarrett, I have a whole huddle film, tons of film. If you look at it, interested, send me a DM. Byron Jarrett, send me a DM. I will never remember the comment. I won't see it in a comment. Send me a DM. I'll get to it. It takes about 2 months. I'm behind on some other videos. But send me a DM, and I'll take a look. And I'll let you know what I think. I'll make a video. I promise, if warranted. So send me a DM. Take 30 to 60 seconds and talk about a guy team no one has asked about, and you have a few things to say about. Jacob Richardson, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about, Jacob Richardson. You need to be more specific. And Jacob Richardson, trying to hijack my show for an answer is not the way to go about it. Show up every night and ask the same question, and eventually I give the answer. That's exactly what the people do. Right? I have a guy come in here and he goes, "Hey, Rico, what do you think about so-and-so?" And he just gave me a name one night, and I go, "Hey, man, I owe you an answer. I'm not going to answer that tonight, but I owe you an answer." Next night he shows up, asked it again. And at about 6 times I finally said, "Oh, I had a chance to really look into it. I got an answer for you." But showing up one night, don't know who you are, and just start spamming me and saying, "I need to give you 30 to 60 seconds of my time." This is the 30, 60 seconds you're getting right now to tell you to be consistent, be persistent, and eventually you'll get an answer. I'm one person. Hey, Rico, caught your FCS conversation on TikTok. Wanted to comment. Cooper Kupp is my favorite FCS player, Eastern Washington Eagles. Okay. Yeah, the all-time leading receiver in FCS history. Sounds good. Cool stuff. He embarrassed himself at the draft. I don't know who that is. I guess you do know. I think he didn't do very well in big game situations when he took a big loss to Tennessee. So when you guys say he, they, I have no idea who you're talking about by the time I get to the chat. If you're new to this, you have to write out names. You have to identify who you're talking about and what you're talking about. Just saying he, they, nobody knows who I'm talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Not by the time I get to it. Why do players get drafted highly at the quarterback position just based off of physical traits and athleticism? Since you're like historian, could you name any time that's produced a star? So it's only produced a star once or twice recently. It's just Josh Allen effect. That's it. That's it. For a long time, there used to be this other unwritten rule, and they were just drafting guys based on height, like their height. They didn't even care about their productivity. Now they're in a habit of drafting guys that they evaluated 2 years ago. They're not even evaluating guys recently. I wish I could show you guys. I have a scout reached out to me, and he goes, "Rico, we gave our grades their sophomore year. We give our grades out the sophomore year." And then he gave me the rubric on how they evaluate the players. I have it on my desktop. I just can't show it to you guys because I don't think you can read it. I wish I knew where I put it. Oh, I have it right here. Let me see if I can open it, and I'll show you guys. And I'll try to control scroll. You thought I was joking? You thought I was joking? Let me show you what NFL scouts do. Let me see if I can blow this up. See if I can scroll in on this. Can you guys see this? I'm going to double check my screen. I don't know if you guys can read this. Give me a second here. You guys can read this somewhat. So what happens is it's a scale from 1 to 9. And if you look, in each column is a different position. So this is quarterback. The first one's quarterback. The next one's running back, fullback. You see this SWR? That means slot wide receiver. This is a tight end, offensive tackle, offensive guard, and center. So when you're looking at a player, you start at the bottom, and you say, is this player a reject? No. Okay. You need more info on the player. Is there an injury and you need to revisit? Is he currently injured when you're evaluating the player? Priority free agent, solid camp. That means we're going to give him a grade of a 5.4. He's a priority free agent. Okay. Then it says quarterback number 3. If you identify him, now listen, when you do this evaluation, you're identifying the individual compared to your roster. So you're not identifying all the quarterbacks in the draft for, like, you're not identifying the draft class. You're not ranking all the players like you guys think. A team's draft board is derived from how the team views those players improving their team. Right? This is why Keely Ringo at corner drops in the draft, because every single team evaluated him as not being better than the corners on their team. Okay? So when you look at it, it says eventual number 2. Does this guy have the juice to ever be a number 2? Career number 2. Developmental player, good quality backup, circumstantial starter, starter traits with limited opportunity, lower end starting quarterback, solid quarterback, and then a star. So pay attention. Starter traits with limited opportunity. That could be any guy who has starter traits. What are starter traits? Strong arm, the right height, the right metrics. So there's somebody out there with the right metrics, and they're going to rate him higher than somebody who's a circumstantial starter, like a dual threat. That's what this is right here. This is code language right here. Circumstantial starter means dual threat quarterback. He'll start when we need a runner. He'll start if something goes wrong. This is starter traits. This is that drop back quarterback they're looking for. Okay? But if you go down here and you look at quarterback number 2, career number 2. If you're career number 2, that means you probably played a lot. You have a lot of production, but they don't believe in your arm strength. You will always be rated lower. You'll always be a 5.9 compared to a guy who just has traits with limited opportunity. He just has traits. That's crazy, bro. The traits guy's higher than you. And this goes for every single position. Every single position, they break it down like this. It's remarkable. Just some food for thought. This is why some of your favorite players don't make it, because they value traits. It's nuts. Will Levis embarrassed himself at the NFL draft. Okay, got it now. I guess your dude think da-da-da-da-da. Why do players get drafted highly? There we go. Talked about it. Gators got Jamonte Wallace. No, nobody got Jamonte Wallace. A kid said he's going to go there, and he can change his mind tomorrow. That's why we don't talk about recruits and verbal commits. And we don't even talk about people who sign letters of intent. I've had 3 guys in the transfer portal in the last 2 months that signed letters of intent and then transferred. They don't even count. They're not going. It's not a thing. 5-star defensive end added to 2020. Yeah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. All these guys will change their mind before the letter of intent day. They'll change their mind because they're not going to stop getting recruited. Somebody else is going to offer them more money. And then if they stay, they'll enroll at your school, and then they'll still leave. Leave after 2 years. Leave after 1 year. I'd much rather you guys get excited about who they get in the transfer portal, because after next year, they won't be able to transfer again unless they're graduate transfers. So now you know, when you get a player in the transfer portal, you know that guy is going to play for us. That guy's transferring to us. He's enrolling in school and in classes. These guys are not enrolling anywhere. It's the summer, and they just said your name. And they're going to change their name by December. You hope they don't, and if they don't, it doesn't even matter, because then they'll just go to a different school later. What do you mean when you said get excited for Group of 5 school, then Power 5 school? GOAT 42. There are Group of 5 schools that I'm excited to watch play. I find them more exciting because the players are less known. The outcomes are less predictable. Okay, I love the coaches in the Group of 5. I think they're the future stars. Every Power 5 school is poaching and taking the best Group of 5 coaches and putting them on their staff. Every single one of them. They're robbing the good and they're doing it with the players now. Now everybody's complaining. Now the coaches complain. Now the coaches complain that their players are being taken. But nobody said shit when a coach got taken from a Group of 5 school to a Power 5 school. They just go, oh, he got an opportunity to coach at the highest level. Yeah, he got hired to be offensive coordinator over here. No, You just robbed a younger program of a great young coach. It's happening. Shout out to Texas Tech. They took the offensive coordinator from Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky had an offensive coordinator, one of the best in the country, Zach Kittley. And then Texas Tech goes and says, hey, man, come be our offensive coordinator. They just robbed him. Now he's at a Power 5 school as an offensive coordinator. And guess what? Power 5 offensive coordinators get head coaching positions. So now Zach Kittley one day will be a head coach, and everyone will talk about how great of a young head coach he is, but he started at Western Kentucky. So the players aren't allowed to move from Western Kentucky to Texas Tech without everybody being up in arms, but they're cool with the coaches doing it. It's a double standard. Coaches have been doing it for years upon years. But it's a job and they're getting a raise. Well, so are the players. Thoughts on Naeem Muhammad transfer to Kent State? I want to say I've already talked about Naeem, but if I haven't, double check. Do a search on TikTok after the live stream. Hashtag Kent State, hashtag transfer portal, and see if I've talked about Naeem. What do you think of the Gators 2024 class? You know what? I might have talked about Naeem on live stream if it happened recently. What do you think of the Gators 2024 class? Michael, I just gave you a whole tangent about it. I don't care. Like, recruiting classes like that are just whack. On TikTok or where? Byron Jarrett, I don't know what you're talking about. You guys got to be more specific. Do you acknowledge your tribal chief, Roman Reigns? I don't know any wrestlers. I mean, I know that's what he is. I could walk past him tomorrow and not know that that's who he is. I would say, hey, that's a pretty big guy, but I wouldn't know that that's a wrestler. Feel that. Who do you think will be in the playoffs and who will win the Natty? LLS? No. I can't even go there. They could win conferences and not make it the playoffs. I could say Clemson, they win the ACC and they don't make the playoffs. You have no control over who makes the playoffs. What did you think of Jordan Love when he was at Utah State? I thought he was really good, and I'm interested in him this season. Michael, I don't want to say your name wrong. Collisis? Michael Collisis, I've said this many times. Jordan Love was a terrible quarterback at Utah State. Terrible. He was anointed before his senior year. He had a great bowl game his junior year, comes back for his senior year, plays absolutely terrible. Dog shit. Terrible. But they already had said he was going to be a first-round pick, and that's why he got drafted in the first round. Because he's 6'4", 220, whatever he is. He did not play good. Go look at the stats. He was second team All-Mountain West, and he shouldn't have been. Everybody talked about him. The last time Jordan Love ever played good was that bowl game his junior year. He has not played good ever since. Now, maybe he's gotten better since being on the bench in the NFL and learning from Aaron Rodgers. But from what I've seen, this man's entire career is because of that bowl game his junior year. After that bowl game, they went into the offseason, and Mel Kiper and McShay and all these guys, they just went and made a bunch of mock drafts, and they said, oh, this guy, look, we saw him in the bowl game. He's amazing. Yeah, first rounder. Then he went out his senior year and played absolutely terrible. Terrible. You know what? I don't like just talking. Let's pull it up, man. Let's pull it up, Rico. Let's pull it up and show them what he's talking about. This is what I'm talking about. So his sophomore year, I keep saying junior and senior year. It's just because I'm saying first and last year. But his sophomore year, 3,500 yards, 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. This is when they anoint him and say he's amazing. This is when they say he's a first-round draft pick. They don't care how he played his final year. They saw 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. They loved him immediately. Goes into his final season and proceeds to throw 17 interceptions. They don't care. They ignored this entire season. He threw 17 interceptions, 12 less touchdowns, 11 more interceptions. This is incredible. And they still draft him in the first round. Can you imagine somebody being drafted in the first round, throwing 20 touchdowns, 17 interceptions? Let me explain this to you. In the same conference, and this is 13 games, in the same conference, Jake Haener only played 9 games. No, 8 games. Jake Haener threw 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions this season and was a 4th-round draft pick. In the same conference, Jake Haener's first team All-Mountain West. This dude was second team All-Mountain West. Jake Haener wins 10 games for Fresno State in his senior year. Jake Haener, 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 4th-round draft pick. Because he wasn't anointed the previous year. Because he didn't get the stamp of approval in the previous year the way Jordan Love did. Jordan Love has played like straight garbage ever since this season. So 2018 is the last time Jordan Love was relevant, good. This is what got him paid. This is why he's a millionaire right now. Because nothing he did in 2019 warrants millionaire. Nothing he did in 2019 warrants being in the NFL. Nothing. But he got a first-round draft pick, and that immediately gets you at least 4 years in the league, and then a 5th-year option. So you got 4 years to finally play good is what happens when you get to be a first-round draft pick. It is a tragedy that there are players in the NFL who have never played good football in the last 5 years, and they're still in the NFL. Never seeing the field. Nothing good. This is terrible. Mountain West football, bro. This ain't the SEC. This ain't Power 5. This is the Mountain West, and he didn't dominate. And I got Kyle Trask, has never played a down in the NFL. Threw 48 touchdowns, 6 picks, went to the Heisman finalist. In the SEC, never played a down in the NFL. Not even a starter today. Make it make sense. You guys should study this shit. It's terrible. It's scouts anointing players. It's scouts determining who's going to get drafted a whole year before they ever play. That's why you guys keep asking these questions. Rico, is so-and-so top 5? Is so-and-so top 5? You ask me these questions because the scouts already determine who's top 5. They don't even care how they play. They don't care how they play in their final year. That's why JSN didn't play. Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't play, but if you go watch the tape, he's not a top 5 wide receiver. But he got drafted in the first round. So what is he guaranteed? To be a starter for the next 4 years. Whether he's good or not, doesn't matter. We got him. He's going to get the reps. He's going to get on the field. He's going to get the production. Whether he's good or not. You guys got to understand this game. And this is why I don't make predictions on draft positions and how they're going to do in their career. I don't do none of that shit. It's pointless. They ignore how they actually perform on the field. They ignore it. You're excited about Jordan Love, though. Shout out to you, Michael. Send it to you now. I appreciate it. Oh, you meant where do you send the video? My bad, Brian. Yeah. Send it on YouTube. On TikTok. Will Levis embarrass himself at the NFL draft? Who's the worst team in America? In the American. The worst team in the American. Navy, and Navy. Navy's the worst. Let me make sure. What do we got for 2023? Who moved in? Temple's got Kurt Warner's son, so Temple's fine. It's Navy. And I know that sounds crazy because they win 9 games. Or what did they win? 4 games? Yeah, it's still Navy. Temple's good, man. Just got to bear with me on them. UConn is not the worst. UConn's bowl game, man. What? UConn's great. Do the transfers that Deion got at Colorado mean much this season, or is it too early to tell? Michael, it means a ton. The transfers that Coach Prime got are not a one-loss team. They didn't win one game. The players he got are not accustomed to winning one game. He got players that win. Please understand that. He got players that win. So, yeah, they mean a huge amount. Is Braden McGregor going to have a breakout year? I don't know. Please don't repeat the question. I don't know. Correct, you are. Case in point, see Rashada. Big fish, eat little fish. What did we expect? Have you been impressed with Javon Antonio so far? His route running looks sketchy. D. Merrill, if you're watching his routes, we got a problem. That man is a grown man. He's beating everybody deep. He's too big to deal with. You're trying to jam him. You're going to get beat. I've been extremely impressed with Javon Antonio. And Kitley was a Houston Baptist prior to Western. Yes. That's where he was at with Bailey Zappi and the Stearns brothers. Rico, my guy, what's up? Can KJ Jefferson lead Arkansas to an SEC championship? If he's driving the bus, If he's driving the bus, I love KJ Jefferson. I think he's doing great. He's not winning no SEC. Oh, wow. So Jordan Love's bad. Maybe he's gotten better. He's been in the NFL. He's been on the backup. Maybe he's gotten better. I like that you pull up numbers for us. Thank you for that. No problem. Thoughts on Tim DeMorant's senior season? I thought he played well. Was he Fordham? Fordham quarterback, FCS? I thought he played well. I evaluated him before the draft. I thought he was fine. It looks like an XFL quarterback, though. What do you think about Chase Sewell transfer from Colorado to ECU? Chase Sewell is one of them players that could actually play. There's a vacancy there in the wide receivers at East Carolina, so I think he's got a chance to see the field a lot. Maybe 600 to 800 yards receiving. That's the type of production he's worth. I like Sewell. I like him. He's a good kid. I do think Jordan Love will play pretty well this year. He's been put in a position to succeed, but yeah, that's a bad drop-off from junior to senior. Exactly. Who we talking about right now, Rico? Jordan Love. Oh, my boy Nate Wiggins said, when he getting a video? Shout out to Nate Wiggins. I think I've made a video on Nate Wiggins before. I think I have. Austin Simmons is so unlikable. If you got a quarterback hating on kids on TikTok, you just know he can't be a leader. That's what matters, Love Sosa. That right there. You got to be a leader in the locker room. And I talk to a lot of quarterbacks on TikTok, in the DMs. I talk to a lot of college quarterbacks. They write to me often about some of their teammates, about how I need to give this guy a shine. Hey, I was at practice today. This guy looked great. Just so you know, we got an incoming freshman. He's looking like he'll be in the rotation. I get all kinds of information from quarterbacks. Guess what I don't get? Those same young men in the comments cursing other people out. No, they're too busy being professionals or trying to be a professional. And get ready. If you want to be a professional at this game, you should be a lot more focused on yourself. You know, I talked to a young man today, a young man who starts in the SEC. This is a fact. I talked to him today. I could prove it if I get off my TikTok live. And we talked, and he said, you got any tips for me? And I said, yes. Just remember this. What's your goal? What's your goal? And are you working towards your goal every single day? I said, because you either get better every day or you get worse, but you never stay the same. You never stay the same. And that goes for anything. You want to lose weight. Did you lose weight today or did you gain weight? But you didn't stay the same. Everything in your life, if you have a goal, did you work at it or didn't you? And I'll tell you what, the day that kid is sitting there writing text messages and cursing people out, he did not get better at his craft today. He did not get better at being a quarterback today than he was yesterday. Did you watch film? Did you go work out? Did you throw 1,000 passes? Like, what are we doing? You got to get better every single day. That's why those kids are in the driveway every day working on their layups and their jump shots. Did you get better today versus yesterday? Let me know. Because that's how I approach everything that I do. Everything that I do. When I know everything about college football, every single day I learn something new. Because I study like crazy. I put in at least 10 hours a day of just grinding through rosters and stats. And this is why I can talk to you guys about every single thing you talk about. You throw up a name, I'm like, yeah, boom, boom, boom. Oh, by the way, this, that, or the other. How did I know Jordan Love's college stats from 4 years ago? I don't know. I don't know when I saw it. How did I retain it? How did I know what I was talking about? I didn't know that question was coming tonight. And that happens every night over and over and over again. It's an insane amount of preparation and dedication to the craft. Insane. Unfathomable amount of hours I've spent in front of this computer searching and digging and talking to people and doing whatever. If you're not doing that for your craft, you're not trying to be a professional. I'm doing this for a living. You're not doing your job for a living. So that kid is not built for this. And that's what I reminded that young man that's starting in the SEC next year. I said, hey, just don't forget your goals. Because if you're not working towards it, it's just a dream. It's not a goal. You're not trying to achieve a goal. You're trying to achieve a dream. And you're not. And dreaming is just you thinking about it. I'm daydreaming. I'm thinking, yeah, man, I want to be in the NFL someday. Man, I want to lose 40 pounds. I can't wait till I lose 40 pounds. Did you do anything to lose 40 pounds today? No? Then you're just dreaming about it. You ain't doing shit. That's how I feel. My bad. JSN didn't play because he knew Marvin Harrison Jr. would outshine him. Yeah, among other things. Michael also losing his quarterback. True. Who's the worst team in the ACC? Boston College. Rico, thoughts on the Sun Belt feels very deep this season. Zachary, what up, Zach? Good to see you, brother. I think the Sun Belt has the best running backs in the group of 5. I think they're so deep at running back. Every team has a stud running back. I like the Sun Belt in that regard. I hope Troy wins it because they're credible. But the Sun Belt's loaded. Sun Belt is loaded. Yep. Any backlash from your MJ take that went viral? The prides, I try to ignore backlash. I only want support. People think I do things for attention. No, I do things for supporters. I want people that rock with me. I want us to all move in the same direction. I don't like to just be against the grain. They're always like, Rico, you just do this for clicks. Nah, bruh. I want people that rock with me. So if there's anybody that doesn't agree with my take, I ignore them. Let me tell you guys, I get 10,000 comments a week. 10,000? It used to be 9,000. Now it's 10,000. I don't read them all. I don't read them all, especially when it's two dudes arguing with each other. I stay out of that nonsense for the most part, right? It's just I'm one person, bro. I can't read all those comments. So, yeah, I don't care if they're rocking with me or not. Thoughts on Will Hammond, quarterback commit to Texas Tech. Don't care about commits to schools. Is there any truth to players being a system player, such as quarterbacks or places like service academies, NDSU, places to get like that? Okay, so there's truth to it, but remember the NFL has changed. So the NFL no longer has systems for the most part. The Patriots are still trying to employ their system. But now everybody in the NFL drafts a star player, and then they adjust their personnel to fit that star player. So if you get a dual threat quarterback, you start getting linemen that block better for them. You start getting certain skill sets. Remember back in the day, they used to draft a guy and go, oh, he needs to fit into the system and learn a pro-style offense. Now they just draft guys and build around them. So that premise has changed. But in college, yes, there are still some programs out there that have great systems, and they implement players into those systems. And now players recognize it, and they transfer to them. But it's really offense and defensive schemes. It's really assistant coaches, and it's advantageous. So there are teams that throw for an insane amount of yards. Air Force is always going to lead the country in rushing, or Western Kentucky is always going to lead the country in passing. But what's really neat is when you get a guy like, I don't know, Michael Penix Jr. transferring from Indiana, where he's a 3,000-yard passer, and he goes to Washington and becomes the nation's leading passer. That's them recognizing their personnel and adjusting, right? Adjusting to your personnel. It'll be cool to see at Louisville because they went out and got all the receivers they could find because they intend to pass the ball. And that's not how they always worked. Wisconsin, same thing. They've always been a running school, and now they're going to pass because they hired Phil Longo. So, yeah, there's still places. Now, the ones you mentioned, service academies, North Dakota State, they do a little something different. They're trying to bridge the gap in talent, and they cannot bridge it with recruiting. So they try to run certain schemes that are advantageous to them where the size is the equalizer, right? Speed versus size. So this is why you see triple option, or Georgia Tech did that forever, or Navy. That's what that is. So, yeah, it's still there. You're still a system player. High production players, I like them. I don't care. Yeah, Nate with me right now. He said he needed an updated one. Okay, shout out to you, Chase. Thank you very much. Do you have an opinion on Dante Dowdle at Oregon? No real opinion. I can make a video in the future. Ask me again if you see me again, and I'll let you know. It's getting a little late here, and I don't want to run all night. Thanks for all the great questions, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe before you head out. Yep. Do you think Jerry Rice, the transfer to ECU, is the starting kicker? I don't know. If there's one position I don't know that well, it's long snapper, kicker, and punter. And that's the truth. So I apologize. I need to work on that. I'll look into it. Do you ever get tired of doing this? No, Squints. I get paid. This is my job. I'm not tired of working. You know, some people hate their jobs and they're tired of working. They still got to go to work. This is my job. I don't get tired of it. What website do you use to prepare for having this knowledge on college football? Michael, all of them. I don't trust any singular website. None of them are the answer to anything. I have a favorites list 100 deep. So, yeah, I go to a ton of different websites. Rico, are you watching the NBA draft on Thursday? Yeah, I'll live stream it. Love Sosa. Remind me, I'll live stream it. If Jamie Robinson was bigger, do you believe he would have been a late first or early second rounder? Well, safeties don't usually get drafted in the first round. I like Jamie for who he is. Transfer from South Carolina to Florida State. He's a good player. He's feisty. But I don't think – I mean, he would have got drafted higher, but he's not going ahead of Marty Mapow. It's not realistic. It's very rare for a safety to get drafted first round. Predict Texas's schedule. Their schedule's been released. Everybody knows it. Sup, Rico? What was the MJ take? Don't worry about it. You go see the video. It's on my page. Any chance Texas State can do a bowl? Conference schedule scares me a lot. Yeah, there's a chance, Zach, but it don't look good. I mean, they got to get their feet under them for a couple years. They got to take back Texas. What's really fun is when two folks that rock with you get it into the comments. Yeah, it is fun. How big of a factor is competition in the evaluation of a prospect? Harrison Hall, not all that much, not for me. I feel like if you're better than your opposition, it doesn't matter where you play, you're better than your opposition, right? So if I see 1,000-yard wide receiver, he was going to get 1,000 yards on anybody. He could beat everybody. That's how it's done. Now, they'll try to sell that on TV. ESPN's going to tell you to care about the SEC competition because they own the SEC, and they want to convince everybody that all the best players come from the SEC, and that's how they sell that. But that has no bearing on my decision-making. I don't let ESPN influence me. So, no, I just watch players, and if they dominate, they dominate. Worst Conference USA team. It's probably going to be Jacksonville State, the new teams that just came up from the FCS. Give me Jacksonville State. I see articles saying KJ Jefferson left Arkansas. Okay. Stop reading those articles. If they're right, then they're right. What round you predicting my neighbor Vidal go in? I don't know. We'll see how he plays. He's got to put up some stats. He's got to put up some yards. We'll see. I like him, but we'll see. How big of a factor? Okay, we're good there. Who wins the SEC this year? I have LSU, but I'm not here to predict it. Someone will win. I'm from Georgia, so I know a lot of football players. How do you feel about my boy Jelani Thurman, 5-star at Ohio State right now? So Jelani Thurman, tight end, just signed with Ohio State, out of Hughes, played great. Aaron Nolan was throwing to him. Watched him play for years. Good kid, big kid. I don't feel any way about him. He's never played at Ohio State. Cade Stover's the starter. I don't feel any type of way about him. Why did the wide receiver that committed to Colorado, Lewis, to CU, Lewis, ranking drop when committed? I don't run the ranking sites. I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, guys. Let me go check what's trending, and then we'll call it a night. Thank you guys very much. I've already done Texas wins and losses many times. Derek LeBlanc, let's go back to the transfer portal here for a second. We're talking about Ozzie Hoffler over here. If you guys don't see Ozzie, going to Georgia State. This is a kid from Georgia, and this is the problem. I see good kids in Georgia. They play well. He played at Woodward Academy. He was a good player. He looked like Lawrence Taylor sometimes. It was a smaller school, but still. He's a good player, and he goes to K-State for a year. Doesn't work out, so now he's back. Going to Georgia State. Good. That's where you should have went when you came out of high school. All the local kids are always trying to go to a Power 5 school when they should just be going to Georgia State, Georgia Southern, and making them a powerhouse. He's finally learned that the hard way, and here he comes back home. So good for him. Jordan Buchanan, choosing South Alabama. They have good safeties. They need corners. He's going to South Alabama to be a corner. Gave up, passed up an opportunity to play at Colorado. Good for the young man. That is Ray Buchanan's son. He leaving Purdue. Congratulations. Derek LeBlanc going home, like I said. Called that one. We knew it was happening. Stephon Diggs was upset because he wasn't involved in the play calling. Like I told you guys, he wants to have a bigger part in the game plan and play calling. He does not have a part in audibling. He's on the receiving end. I did a whole tangent on this last time I was on live. Go back and find it. Watch it. I was right. Anthony Miller just tweeted, "Thank you, Pittsburgh," like he's going to be leaving, like he's getting released. Hasn't been announced yet. We'll see. Wide receivers get released all the time. Chase Claypool doesn't work hard. We know this. We talked about this the other live. I'll let it go. This is Overeem. You guys see Overeem here? Look how small he is. Look how he used to be. This is steroids is a hell of a drug, y'all. Don't ever let this happen to you. This is crazy. Alistair Overeem is tiny now. This man stopped using steroids, and he's skinny as hell. Dude's got skinny ankles. I wish I had the other picture. Yeah, look at this. He's even got ashy knees and skinny ankles. This dude ain't. This is a regular dude standing here. Regular dude got more muscles than this dude. Crazy. Stay away from it all. Hey guys, thank you for the show tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. I really appreciate everybody. Thank you for the support. And just remember, don't talk to your friends about sports because they don't know, but Rico knows.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you. I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
I do this for the kids who sit a bit outside the mix, who maybe cope through humor just to fit in for a bit, who never let the world know when depression's setting in. To all of those who know you, that impression don't exist, and it ain't counterfeit, it's just a way to counter it. I'm living things I dreamed about, I still encounter it. It ain't something that a cigarette or alcohol can fix, but all because of it I flipped it quick, went on to write some hits. This a success, off another breath. This the first step in searching to be nothing less than be the best in what you do, to prove their strength in being you. Learn so much in chasing dreams that I never would in school. Depends on where your passion lie, just no passion never lie. Life presents distractions, but your actions have to fortify the things that you believe in. Have to scream it like a battle cry, and leave the ones who didn't looking stupid while they're asking why. Couldn't lie, I really do this for the ones I love, those who treat the music as a vice and lyrics like a drug. Those who need advice on how to lift their spirit high enough to break out of the box they make up lives they know aren't good enough. Just because it's how it is don't mean it's how it has to be. This is what the uninspired testifiers fail to see. Jealousy results from being that which others fail to be, and if it means you're not with me, that honestly sounds fair to me.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
Do this for my mother, she'll be working for the summer. Do this for my father, cause these days I often wonder what my life would have been like if I was not adopted. To grow up in a home where I was treated like a problem.